Well, you had had to 5 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Like Bugs Bunny, like a dog on ice. It would have taken 5 minutes to get over there, 6 minutes to vote, and 5 minutes home. So, couldn't give that up.
What a whole day.
Yeah, I know, right? I couldn't give it up. And she made fun of me. She was like, "You couldn't have given up, less than 15 minutes."
It's kind of important.
I know, and I'm going to get it done. It's not like I'm not going to do it.
No, you said this last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
All of it's true. All of it's...
And it took your sweet wife 6 minutes.
6.
And you were, I'm just so busy. I just can't spare 6 minutes.
You ever get focused on something?
What are you on medication?
Yes. What? No, I'm just, I know I have to focus on the things that I need to get done. If I don't, it's just it doesn't work for me. I have to, once I get started, I got to get it done, and then I do whatever's next. I just have to do things in order. It's just the way I operate. It's a character flaw, and I have many.
Well, I mean, it happens,
but yes, I did afterwards. I'll admit, afterwards when I'm watching the rally last night from Madison freaking Square Garden, it was unbelievable. I was like, God, I'm a dumbass. I mean, I just thought.
I'm glad it hit you in that way.
Well, it did, right? Like a chin check a little bit.
I think that every guest that we've got coming up this week, and we've got another great week ahed of us like we did last week, we're going to let them know you haven't voted. We're going to get them on your butt.
Every time.
Mm-hmm. Here's we were right before we came on there, we were talking about the incredible Hail Mary and that Commanders, whatever it is.
Redskins.
Yeah, Redskins, Bears game. And I couldn't help but notice there was a few things that happened in football. Other than that one incredible play, there was a Texas Tech kicker that ran to the end zone on a fake field goal, pulls up the jersey, his undershirt says MAGA, Trump 2024.
He got in trouble.
And then Nick Bosa, in an interview, runs behind the reporter, and he points to his Make America Great Again hat. That man plays for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, that was Melissa Stark, who was interviewing Brock Purdy, the quarterback of the 49ers. And out of nowhere, here comes Nick Bosa, who just jumps into the live shot and is like, check out my hat. Just want to let you know.
But everybody around him kind of like chuckled, and it's not like anybody was, hands on their hips.
This might be, when it comes to just the changing of the guard, this might be outside of, and I think you told me this, Doug, outside of the resurrection, this might be the greatest turnaround we've ever seen in terms of what looked like it was dead to suddenly it's all the way back. And not only that, it's popular.
Yeah.
Wow. All you have to do is look at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I think a lot of the statements that were made yesterday about this, and I think Vivek Ramaswamy brought it up again. I think, of course, Elon Musk brought it up again, that this is the thing to do, the counterculture. This is, if you want to save this country, if you care about these kind of things, you're part of this movement. And, we've talked about it for so long now that this movement was gaining strength every single day, and I think it culminated yesterday in New York. That was amazing, and as a person who's been in New York his entire life, for some of the biggest events at Madison Square Garden, I mean, this was like SummerSlam, WrestleMania, New York Rangers winning the Stanley Cup in '94. I don't think I've seen that many people in the streets surrounding Madison Square Garden as I did yesterday.
And the funny part was, the only response from the federal government, from the powers that be, was, well, the Nazis did it in 1939.
Oh, my goodness.
And Mayor Adams, who's being prosecuted by, a corrupt DOJ. And look, I don't know if he's guilty or not. I have no idea. There's no way for me to know that. I just know that he's not Trump. Trump is not a dictator. He's not Nazi. He's not any of those things, a fascist. When you have the mayor of New York City, regardless of the situation, and the situation is testy and whatever, and Trump referenced him last night and said, look, I told you they're going to come after you. All you have to do is buck the system for a split second, and they will. But for the mayor of New York City, a liberal Democrat, they go, what they're telling you about Trump is not true. I mean, that shows you the monumental shift, Rhino, of everything's. And look, you grew up in the shadows of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd see that?
No, never. I mean, look, there have been plenty. Bill Clinton spoke there. President Carter spoke there, Ronald Reagan. So it's not like we haven't seen it before. I just haven't seen that kind of energy for a Republican like I saw. I have not seen those kind of red hats walking down the streets of New York. But I think the Mayor Adams thing is very important. Now, Mayor Adams bucked the system when it came to immigration. What was he doing? He was trying to make sure that the people that were in his city, whether you're in Spanish Harlem, or anywhere else throughout that area, that you're not getting overrun by migrants and taking their money and using it for things. And he started getting frustrated and spoke back. Next thing you know, they're tearing apart his entire campaign. They're tearing him apart. And, I think he's going to come out to look pretty good in this. I think maybe somebody on his staff may have done something wrong, but I don't think it was Mayor Adams. Of course, he'll get the blame because he spoke out against them. But I thought it was very responsible for him to tell the truth yesterday about who Donald Trump is. And I think New Yorkers realized over the past few weeks that Donald Trump is exactly who he is in New York and was in New York and loved in New York. But I got to be honest, I think that Joe Rogan podcast made that event even bigger yesterday.
Well, considering the size of that event and considering how big of a weekend it was, between Rogan, between Madison Square Garden, it was that finishing kick of this is where the momentum is going versus what was going on with the Harris-Walz campaign. Tim Walz was playing Madden against AOC.
It was such a joke.
All right, that's what was going on. We're talking about thousands. We're talking about millions of listeners that were going on, and the only response by the Harris-Walz campaign was AOC and Tim Walz were playing Madden against one another in hopes of how do we try and get the men vote.
Well, you're not telling the whole truth. Kamala Harris had a rally in Houston with Beyonce performing.
Funny enough,
another failure.
Another complete failure because you had what's happening in Western North Carolina and East Tennessee is ridiculous. The federal government has failed again. Mm-hmm. And those people are suffering. Luke Combs, country star Luke Combs, and Eric Church, and Keith Urban, and Sheryl Crow, and Billy Strings, and James Taylor, and Scotty McCreery, who's also from North Carolina, won American Idol about 10 years ago. They did a concert. The Tepper family donated Bank of America Stadium, and they raised $25 million for those affected communities. $25 million. On the flip, you got Kamala Harris, who has Beyonce. Ain't no telling what she paid Beyonce to be there to begin with, because we know she's paying all these celebrities. And they didn't even get a show. They got nothing. But they were misled to believe that was a possibility. Second time, Rhino.
Second time they've done this. Obviously, the DNC, everybody was waiting. Oh, I can't wait till she takes the stage, Beyonce. And it just kind of fell flat. And I wonder, I was kind of laughing because Jay-Z, obviously a Brooklyn Nets guy, right? He's always in New York. I was like, I wonder if they're at Madison Square Garden hiding out. Just kind of. But the reality of this is that Kamala Harris doesn't have anything except for these lies, and now we have to paint Donald Trump as Hitler. And that's what yesterday was about. The Democrats made sure that they got in front of Madison Square Garden and did their little thing where they projected up on the side of Madison Square Garden that Donald Trump is Hitler. Well, he likes Hitler, something silly like that.
Crazy.
And that is the game that they have to play. They are totally out of options, so now all they have to do is spread fear and hate. And that's what you saw yesterday after there was nothing but love up in Madison Square Garden yesterday.
We have talked about it for months. This is about authenticity. And what it comes right down to is Donald Trump, hate him, like him, love him, whatever it is. The man is still authentic when it comes to what he brings up with the people and the way he resonates. To then couple that against what happened in Houston, where for 24, 48 hours we were told, hey, Beyonce is going to perform. Here's what's going to happen. To watch those people boo their brains out as soon as she goes up on stage, does her 4 minutes, endorses Kamala Harris, and then she leaves. And there's this moment of, that's it? That's all? I'm here to watch a Beyonce performance.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm here.
Authenticity takes another hit again.
It does, because she's AstroTurf, to use your term, Lowe's. And nothing is going to change in the next 8 days.
No.
She can't become authentic in the next 8 days. And Donald Trump cannot be pushed aside anymore. Seeing people come out of the woodwork supporting Donald Trump, people that you would have never guessed it, people that are it was amazing, Rhino, as a Jewish man, to see all the Jewish people there at Madison Square Garden flying the Jewish flag, the Israeli flag,
sure.
yes. And all of them joking about being at a Nazi rally. They're like, me of all
so
people
many.
coming to a Nazi. And then I saw so many people posting, and they would say, you know, this is not at all what we would experience if we were at the DNC, because we had to have protection and hide out in suites. We couldn't even be just Jewish people at a presidential rally or at a convention. That should tell you. That should speak volumes to you about the differences in the two parties.
Yeah, I think so. Because when I looked in the crowd, I thought the same thing. When I saw the Israeli flag being flown without any problem except for people cheering them as they flew them, I'm like, this would never happen at the DNC.
Ever.
This would never happen at a rally that is being held by Democrats. In fact, it's quite the opposite of what we'd see. And the fact that, and this is why I continue to say, Jews should never vote liberal. Because they are acting like the Nazis in all reality. That's the way they're acting. Look what they've done and how they've played this. They're doing one thing for power and power only. They're separating the Jewish people. They're dividing again. And then they're like, hey, we got the pro-Palestinian people we got to take care of too. Because, well, Kamala Harris doesn't want them to continue to interrupt her rally. It's not MAGA extremists, by the way, going into Kamala Harris's rallies and interrupting. It's the pro-terrorist groups, and that's who she supported. And now they're mad because she's saying, hey, I got to play both sides of this in order to gain power. I think the Jewish people are starting to realize more than ever who's really on their side, and it happens to be Donald Trump at this point.
What do you do when you've had the compliant media, the corporate media, the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party that has gone after Trump and Vance so hard that by the time that it's not working, the only response from the far left is, well, go at them harder.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
What else do you want them to do? They called them Hitler, okay? It's like
taking shots.
It's like, what else do you have left? It feels like they have taken every single shot and they have basically
Physically
brushed it
and
aside.
figuratively.
Exactly. It's like you've had 2 assassination attempts, and yet you've brushed everything aside and said, vote here and watch what happens.
I want to ask your opinion, but do they really believe that by going out with this rhetoric and calling him Hitler and making up all these lies and continuing down the Project 2025, that it's energizing the independent voters that they need or bringing people back to their party? I don't think it's working.
No, and they know it's not working. That's why they keep doubling down on it.
And I'll tell you,
Which is nuts.
This from the weekend, and again, my entire mind pays attention to what are you advertising, because that's who you're trying to reach. Every single advertisement has now turned into trying to reach men and trying to reach black men, and that's it. That's all. They realize they have a massive problem when it comes to men. They have a massive problem when it comes to black men. All of their ads are now trying to say, hey, vote for black vice president. She ain't black. And they know this. And that's part of the problem that's going on for them.
And then Barack Obama, who had scolded men and black men in particular last week, Michelle Obama comes out and doubles down. She does it in a sweeter way, right?
Yeah, of course.
She tries to soften the blow a little bit, but she says the exact same thing.
You're misgendering her.
Well, yes,
You need to stop.
Look, but this is
I'm just trying to be respectful.
This is all they have left. This is all they have left.
No, of course.
Look, the Obamas have done what they can to divide this country and make this fake hate. It wasn't there before Obama, and they wanted to leverage that to try to win, and it worked for them. Now they're continuing to try to do the thing for Kamala Harris and leverage and pretend that there's hate. But I think people are starting to see through it, and I think that the border is one of the biggest issues. Why? Because when they go back to their cities in Chicago and other areas, especially in swing states, and realize, why are they spending more money on illegals and criminals at that than they are the people that are actually paying into this system? Why are we not getting the return on our investment? And they're not. So I think a lot of them are switching and saying, hey, I trust Donald Trump to do something for everyone. It doesn't matter what color our skin is. When he works on this economy, it mutually benefits all
everybody.
of us.
Right, yeah. And that's where we want to be.
We're 8 days out. I can't wait to see like the finishing kick when it comes to like I know what's going on within the Trump campaign. I can't wait to see what the media as they're hitting the death blow of what they are as a group, as we've seen now Donald Trump with millions of views on Joe Rogan over the weekend. Significantly more than anything you can get by going to CBS, NBC, MSNBC, ABC, everybody. I'm trying to see what they're going to try and throw out there over the last week to try and say, hey, we're still relevant over here.
Well, I think you saw it with Jake Tapper and J.D. Vance. Mm-hmm. I mean, when Tapper goes at him and Vance was like, whoa. You, sir, are the person that pushed Russia collusion knowing that it wasn't real. And for the first, right in the very beginning, Tapper kind of kept his composure. And then about 90 seconds in, he starts melting down and pointing fingers. Yeah. And that's what the mainstream media has been reduced to. And that's just one example of several. Yeah,
look at MSNBC yesterday. Yeah. What did they do? This is what you're going to see from now on. You're going to see them put up rally pictures from 1939 and pretend that it's Hitler, Trump. It's not working. Let them continue to do that. Let the crazies on their side continue to do that, because eventually they're just going to scream and shout. And on November 6th, they're going to be in the streets crying. And that's about all they have right now.
It's a numbers game. When MSNBC is reaching out to 500,000 people at a time, just know YouTube alone, went ahead and took a look.
That's where I watched.
Joe Rogan's at 33 million views when it comes to his interview with Donald Trump.
That's not Spotify.
33 million. Yeah, that's just YouTube alone. Yeah. We're not talking about the main, because I watched on Spotify. Mm-hmm. 33 million alone right there.
Trump's Madison Square Garden rally comes 85 years after pro-Nazi rally at the famed Rhino. That's the MSNBC super that Rhino's talking about. Just so you have exactly what it was that they put on there.
They're doing anything they can now.
It's unreal.
The propaganda wing is now calling everybody else Nazis and socialists.
Unreal, the desperation. And you can see it. And hopefully you've gone and voted like most people on this show. I don't know about the losers that haven't, but hopefully they'll get out there soon.
Meanwhile, look at this dork and Tim Walz. He's like, I'm sitting over here playing a video game.
Drinking Diet Mountain Dew.
That's what we're at. This is what you have.
He's not drinking. That's not really his Diet Mountain Dew. They just say that's a prop. He's trying to make him relatable to rednecks.
Yeah, he's going to have 2 big rallies with about 100 people each this week here in Atlanta. Watch out.
If he's lucky, he'll get 100 people.
Put on his new flannel.
They say Trump wants to take us back, and Kamala says, no, we're not looking back. We're moving to the future. Trump wants to take us back to the 1900s, and I got to tell you, we are here for it. After headlines with Rhino, next on the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3. We're on the air until 10.
The Kimmer Show is only live on Xtra 106.3 every weekday afternoon on your drive home.
Former California First Lady and journalist, so-called journalist and TV star Maria Shriver was at a town hall, and a woman stood up and said, are we going to be able to ask a question? As the vice president took the stage with Liz Cheney. Here we go from the town hall last night.
You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
Hopefully. She just announced to the town hall that there'll be no questions from you people. We just want you to hear what we want you to hear. We don't want to answer your questions. Are you kidding me?
I mean, let the California millionaire elitist with Kennedy ties tell you what you should ask.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
It's fall, y'all. And no matter what your family has on the plate, Subaru of Gwinnett has the vehicle for you. If you're headed to a game, then tailgate in style in the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester. It holds everything you need for the tailgate and keeps the most precious cargo, your family, safe. Maybe you're just taking a ride up to the mountains to see the leaves or driving to spend time with the family. Wherever you're headed this fall, the 2025 Subaru Outback shares your spirit with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and up to 32 miles per gallon. And we're proud to offer you so much more than a car buying experience. At Subaru of Gwinnett, we extend that saving to our amazing and reliable service department, where you'll get unmatched service and specials you'll love during our fall service event. Visit us on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth and let us show you how our family can take care of your family. or start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Xtra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now, I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPs.com.
Hey, Georgia neighbors, it's time to expect more from your Medicare Advantage. Discover Sonder Health's custom plans tailored just for Georgians. Saunders offers unique benefits, including special plans for those living with chronic conditions. Some plans even come with grocery or gas benefits to support your overall well-being. Sonder Health makes it easy to get the coverage you need. See for yourself what today's Medicare Advantage can do for you. Visit SonderHealthPlans.com, a healthier state of life. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO and PPO with Medicare contracts. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
The end of the year is closing in, and with it, another tax year comes to an end. As you prepare to file your taxes, consider the efficiency of your tax strategy. Have you maximized your IRA and Roth contributions? Do you have an RMD strategy in place? Are you making moves now to maximize your future tax-free income? Not only is the year-end fast approaching, but the 2017 tax cuts sunset at the end of 2025, placing many Americans in a higher tax bracket. Don't just report your taxes, plan for them. Contact Master Plan Retirement Consultants now to create a retirement plan specifically designed for you. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation where we can illustrate your retirement outlook and create a plan together for your future. Master Plan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 28th. 3 people in Albany were killed and the driver of a car was seriously injured when the vehicle went over a set of railroad tracks at a high speed, became airborne, flipped, and crashed. The driver was found in the driver's seat while 3 passengers were ejected from the car and pronounced dead at the scene. Georgia State Patrol reported that the driver was traveling at 75 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone when officers attempted to pull the car over. Officers also found loaded guns in the vehicle, which may be linked to the Albany State University shooting. Any updates on that case will come from the GBI. President Trump will be in Atlanta today for a rally at McCamish Pavilion on the Georgia Tech campus following an electrifying event last night at New York's Madison Square Garden. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz will also be in Georgia this week with stops in Savannah and Columbus scheduled for Tuesday. The Atlanta Falcons held on late to defeat their division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-26. Falcons QB Kirk Cousins threw for 276 yards and 4 touchdowns in the victory. With the win, the Falcons took control of the NFC South and now hold a 5-3 record. With your headlines, Scott Rhino, Extra 106.3.
Tug, Rhino, and Los. I think when Donald Trump said, I got this idea. What do y'all think about going back pre-1913, pre-federal income tax? And I said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is something that I can get behind. That is something that is going to get the attention of anybody and everybody. It does not matter your political persuasion.
Wait, the government's going to give away power voluntarily?
Yes.
No, definitely not. They're going to fight it all the way. You can wait, just wait. You'll see the Democrats lining up, and those Republicans that love to tax and spend, they will fight this tooth and nail. But I love the fact that Donald Trump is brave enough to say, this is what I want to do. this is something that will affect, because Kamala did the whole pander thing. We're going to give only one specific group, access to $25,000 loans that will eventually turn into grants to start small businesses. So again, it's checking the box. Donald Trump, again, addressing all Americans with this.
Yeah, I mean, this is an all Americans, and you know what else it is? All illegal. If it's a consumption tax and you have to buy products and that's where the tax is coming from, it doesn't even matter if you're a citizen. You're going to be collecting from people who travel here and come and vacation. You're going to be getting tax money from everyone. And that's why when you read a book like The Fair Tax from Neil Bortz, who you can hear here on the station, that's what the important part about reading into this is, and actually doing the research rather than listening to a bunch of politicians who don't want any kind of transparency in where the money's coming from, how they're getting the money, and where they're spending it.
Well, tariffs are going to be an important factor, but you're only talking about 2% of what the federal government brings in. The rest of it comes out of taxation. So what are you going to create? I just like the fact that we are going to have the discussion of what would you have to create, and typically that's going to have to be the consumption tax, the fair tax. And if, as Neil Bortz has brought it up many times, and we're all students of it, it would be the single biggest giveaway of federal power that we've ever seen.
Which is why the fight is coming.
Considering that when Joe Biden decided to not seek office again, he was George Washington. Look at him. He voluntarily gave power back.
Right.
All right, let's see how much more they want to give back, because this is the sort of thing that gets you assassinated.
No, they don't want to give any power back because they said he was like George Washington turning over power when it came down to it.
After they told him created a coup on him.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They told him, we're going to expose everything that you and your family have done. All of that Hunter Biden laptop stuff, we know all about it. We're going to expose it and ruin your legacy.
Yeah.
And we're going to invoke the 25th Amendment. I know Kamala says still to this moment, Joe is riding unicycles, juggling axes.
Yeah, he's great.
Nobody believes that, Kamala. Nobody. So that the whole he was so kind-hearted to give up power is a fallacy to begin with. But to the point of the tax, they are going to flip out, which is great because it's going to show the American people that these people want your money to spend it on crap that you don't want.
Yeah, that's what's going to continue to happen is the federal government just hired 87,000 IRS agents. You think they're going to look at the IRS and say, hey, you know what? We don't really need you or the code anymore. We've got to change this and fundamentally change this. No, they spent so long burying us in this bureaucracy of where we don't understand the tax code. We never will. This would simplify it like that. And they're afraid of that. They don't want people to be able to use this in advantage. They're never going to allow this to happen unless, of course, you get someone like Donald Trump who does push something like this and you get a lot of people behind it. They return the money to the people, and that would be very important. That's very dangerous for a party that wants the government to control the people rather than the people controlling the government.
Let's say that I'm having dinner with Aunt Peg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Aunt Peg and I are now on the discussion of taxation. And Aunt Peg is going through the regular rigmarole and what she wants to bring up, and I say, Aunt Peg, I want to make sure everyone pays their fair share. And she's going to go, hell yeah. And we're going to clink drinks, and I'm going to go, fair tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
she's going to ask I don't know what that is. You'll have to explain that.
Your taxation is based on your level of consumption.
Yeah.
If you're so concerned about the millionaires and billionaires and we need to get them to pay their fair share, well, that's how you do it. Whatever it is. Because, more than likely, yes, I get to keep the entirety of my paycheck. I get to not have to worry about the IRS. I get to abolish it. I get to get rid of all these things. But based on what I decide to purchase, that's going to be my level of taxation.
The thing that's going to scare people like Aunt Peg and others, liberals in general, is they can't imagine, Rhino, a government without an IRS, a government without a Department of Education that has been a complete failure and needs to be gotten rid of and it returned to parents and caretakers to handle the education of their children. They can't fathom letting go of those agencies because that's what for 30, so what, since the 70s?
Yeah.
So nearly 50 years that they've become comfortable with. And now it's time to shake it up. I'm glad this is happening, and I want to see Elon Musk a part of this. I want to see a hacksaw taken to the federal government.
Jimmy Carter proved that the Department of Education doesn't work. He proved that you could take the number one educated country in the world and turn them into the 24th by putting in bureaucrats. That's what happened with the Department of Education. Eliminating it would give us the opportunity to become the most educated country in the world again. Democrats don't want educated people, right? So that's why they want to get rid of that. The tax system is an easy way for them to steal money from the American people. And of course, they don't want to do away with that. They're going to use lies, by the way. They're going to say this is going to cost the minority groups more because they're going to be paying more for items. That's a falsehood. It is not true. Because what ends up happening, and people need to understand it, and I'm telling you, you should get the book from Neil Bortz. I know it's an older book, but it's so relevant to today because when he talks about corporations and how they're going to not have to pay taxes now on the products they buy to create their product, it all does go downhill, lowers the price of our products, gets it to us. So you're paying probably about the same price or lower that we're paying now for that product, but yet you're not paying any taxes whatsoever. That's where you're going to save the money, but they will never let you understand how this system will work because it would work too well.
I would ask you this question, Tug. So let's say you see a shirt in the window, and again, as the pretty one, you buy pretty clothes.
Oh, come on now.
All right, so when you make that purchase, you're going to pay your consumption tax, you're going to pay your tax on it, right? Or you can choose to remain with a system that continues to take money out of your paycheck without ever you buying the shirt.
I know, right? That's exactly right. It's a great example, and it breaks it down to something that everybody's done.
Yep.
You want to buy it? All right, this is going to be part of the tax on it. If you don't want to buy it, you still kept your whole paycheck.
What? See, what they want to do is tax corporations for 25%. If it was a 20% flat tax on everybody through consumption, you're actually lowering that tax rate and lowering the price of goods. And Carlos is exactly right. You're paying through you're being taxed 3 to 4 times. Your property tax, your on
a house you already bought, property you already bought.
Yeah, of course. All the money taken out of your paychecks, all of that. What if you got to keep that money and then buy the products you want, pay the taxes when you want to buy products, and not have to worry about doing paperwork, hiring an accountant, and doing all the things we do? The problem with anything, whether it's a driving car that drives by itself or a tax that eliminates IRS agents, that eliminates accountants, it's the jobs that they're going to fight over and say, you're going to take away jobs from these communities. They're not going to be allowed to be accountants anymore, IRS agents, blah, 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 blah.
Well, if they're good at it, they'll do it in the private sector.
Yep.
Now, when Liberal Aunt Peg and I are finishing up our meal, that's where we're going to have the other moment.
She ain't going to stay with you. Not long.
It's going to come down to...
Say Hitler, she'll stay.
When I say, I hear he's like Hitler. She leans in. Tell me more. Tell me more.
You got 3 more minutes.
She's like, I'm ready. Come on, tell me more.
I will.
It's going to be this one little discussion point. I am choosing to not purchase anything for the remainder of this week, in which case my fair share will be 0. That billionaire who decided to buy the boat that you're so worried about how he's able to have all these write-offs and he did it against his company, he's paying the taxes on the boat.
Yeah.
That's the fair share. It eliminates what's my fair share.
But
the market decides it.
You're already seeing it populate on social media. I've seen it on X a few times this morning. People talking about, this is not fair. This is a terrible idea. They're already shouting it from the rooftops, and they're giving these just AWOL, absent-minded explanations. I can only tell you that if you're paying about 22% right now for a federal tax rate, that money stays in your wallet. That's the only thing that matters. Can you imagine getting a 20% raise? You would actually be in better shape with all the inflation that we're dealing with. If they cut that thing off, it wouldn't even matter that the inflation's at 10 or 9 or whatever it is, because you would still have another 10 or 11% above that. It's a huge pay raise.
I just don't know how we were able to function from 1776 to 1913 without a federal income tax.
Tariffs.
Let me get that straight again. You operated as a country for the majority of the length of your country without a federal income tax.
Correct. Maybe something we should consider again.
Weird.
Maybe something we should consider again. Like another consideration, Rhino, is ID when you go vote.
Can you imagine that? So I found this
Hold on. Sounds racist to me.
It is very
Clearly it is
very racist. It's very bad. But this is the problem with what they continue to say, because 84% of Americans. Okay, and this poll is not.
You can't get 84% of Americans to agree on anything. Nothing.
84% of Americans think you should have a photo ID in order to vote, and think there should be more restrictions when it comes to being able to vote if you didn't have a photo ID. This just goes against the narrative that they continue to tell you that voter IDs are racist and most black people don't have IDs or can't get an ID or anyone else can. The truth of the matter is this. If this is what these polls continue to tell us, then why are Democrats not supporting the fact that we need voter ID?
Elon Musk says because they want to cheat. Guessing he may be right. This is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Kamala has introduced a new accent, and I love accents. I think accents are great. You know, they illuminate who the person is. I've lost count on how many she has, though. I mean, this is another one that she's added to the repertoire. Can't wait to play it for you next on the Morning Extra until 10.
The only place to be on election night is right here on Extra 106.3. Our live commercial-free broadcast starts at 6 p.m. and goes all night until a winner is declared. And we'll have the entire Extra crew in studio, local and national experts, and your calls live on the air all night. So grab the Extra 106.3 app now, stream it on YouTube, or just be here live on election night with Atlanta's only conservative voice, Extra 106.3 FM.
This is Jonathan Geller at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, Atlanta's engagement ring and wedding band destination since 1939. Why? Easy. Hand-picked diamonds that just shine brighter at a value that can't be beat. An unbelievable selection of engagement rings and wedding bands, from classic to modern to off the wall, because hey, you like what you like. And because we've been jewelers for generations, we can bring your dream ring to life with full custom abilities. If you're getting engaged, we make shopping for diamonds easy with Atlanta's best staff of trained gemologists. Tell us what matters to you, and we'll work together to get you the best value. We're a small family-owned business. We live here. We want you to like us. Already engaged? Congrats, you found your perfect match. Time for your ring to find its perfect match. Just bring yourself, your partner, stack them up, and try as many wedding band looks as you can dream up. Make it personal with touches like birthstones and engraving. So when it's time for the next chapter, come see Atlanta's most trusted jeweler since 1939, D. Geller & Son, in Atlanta, Kennesaw, and Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. At A Second Chance Bail Bonds, we believe everyone deserves a second chance. We handle bonds from local to federal for any jail in any city. And in most cases, we can have you and your loved one out of jail in a matter of hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT. Or online at atlbail.com.
As the year comes to a close, now is the perfect time to evaluate your estate plan to protect your hard-earned assets from the high tax rates. Nelson Elder Care Law is here to help you keep your assets secure for future generations. As a family-owned and family-focused business, our mission is to exceed your expectations, offering absolute assurance and peace of mind. With our expertise in customized estate planning, Medicaid planning, probate administration, guardianship, and conservatorship, we protect what matters most to you. Schedule a free legacy planning meeting today to discover how we can help families just like yours. Don't let the government decide how to spend your money. Contact us at 678-250-9355. 678-250-9355. or visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com. Nelson Elder Care Law, your partner in asset protection.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. A ragtag group of college hockey players, which upset the heavily favored Soviet Union en route to the 1980 Winter Olympic gold medal, could soon get another gold medal, the Congressional Gold Medal. Republican Minnesota Representative Pete Stauber joined fellow Republican Elise Stefanik, along with Democrats Mike Quigley and Bill Keating, to recognize the Miracle on Ice team. Stauber says he'll never forget what the team did for the U.S. at that moment during the height of the Cold War. The U.S. upset the Soviets 4-3, then defeated Finland a few days later to capture the gold. The plan is to create 3 medals, one to go on display at the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in Minnesota, another at the Lake Placid Olympic Center, and the third would go to the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum in Colorado Springs. Stefanik represents the district surrounding Lake Placid, New York, where athletes competed in the 1980 Winter Games. She says the team, quote, taught our nation how to believe in miracles. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Extra 106.3 is the only station in Atlanta to bring you the legend Neil Boortz, a live and local news talk show on your ride in, and the Kimmer Show every afternoon. Be here at 3 for the Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder, only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
We are on the air until 10. Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Make sure you download the Extra 106.3 app. That way you can listen live and on demand to anything that you might miss during the day. We know you can't listen to 4 hours. And, you know, it's easy to in and out of cars, going in and out of the office, picking up kids in the after. Whatever you miss on this show or any of the others, you can go back and listen to it on the Extra 106.3 app. It is a genius piece of technology. So
I would demand at this point, what is your excuse?
There is none.
Right.
None.
We're down to the last week or so. 4 hours. What's the big deal? Make sure you give us all 4.
Yeah, I mean, if you can. I mean, I just realized.
I don't care if you can. But let's do it.
People in and out of cars. But that's the point, though, right? Is you getting in and out of cars. I mean, there's just things that take you away, but you have the app there to go back and hear what you missed, and that's where we ask.
Joe's not in Carline.
No, Joe definitely not.
I listen to 4 hours every day.
Well,
every
I know
day.
you do.
Wow.
But
do you?
But, well, yeah.
Do you?
Well, he'll check out every now and then here and there.
Yeah. And you can see him
like when
daydreaming.
Tug calls for a cut or something sometimes.
A lot of it's just, let's face it, we all get hungry.
I'll give you 3 hours and 45 minutes, though, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's all we ask for. That's all we ask for, really. I'm a fan of accents, always have been. I love accents. And there's a few that I don't like. But for the most part, I think accents are cool because they illuminate who you are and where you're from and how you grew up. They tell a little bit about you. The problem with Kamala Harris is she's got a repertoire.
So we've now had, okay, let's get it. We now have Barbershop Kamala. We have Midwestern Kamala. We have Southern Kamala. We got another one yesterday.
No.
We got
I can't wait.
Preacher Kamala. Take a listen to as she's making an appearance over in Pennsylvania, trying to salvage what's going on there. We now have, during a church service, Preacher Kamala.
Weeping may endure for a night.
What?
But joy cometh in the morning.
Oh, my God.
The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning. And church morning is on its way.
So insulting, man.
It is so insulting. And then right at the end, before she did that weird cackle, giggle thing, she came back to her, regular speaking voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she left her accent to come back to where, she began. I don't know how anybody looks at her or listens to her and goes, yep, that's who I want to vote for. I believe in her.
She's a fake puppet, so any ventriloquist, they could put any voice in her and it works.
Sure.
I'm waiting because it's got to be today or tomorrow, and maybe I have to look into some media to find it, but I guarantee there's a Puerto Rican accent coming pretty quick.
Got to have one.
If you have an authenticity problem, then one of the first things you would, as somebody who was managing a campaign, it's be consistent. Don't make it sound like you're somebody different every single time. The problem ends up being it's that she just can't help herself.
Because she doesn't know who she is.
No.
She has no idea who she is at this point.
So at this point, it turns into, all right, who am I in front of? All right, well, let me show you what I'm supposed to do because I'm going to be... There are people that are good at retail politics. Getting up in front of people, trying to act like, a Joe regular person. Here's what it is. She is so bad at retail politics.
Yeah, she knows who she is. I don't believe that. I think she does. She needs to hide who she really is.
That may be the better example.
Yeah, because I think if people really knew who she was, they'd see right through everything. I think we are more on top of who she really is, and she's an empty puppet. That's who she is, but she also wants to hide the socialist ideas that she's had, the very progressive ideas she has. That's why she flip-flops in between every group that she's marginalized at one point or another.
No, I think that's a really good statement there. She does. And the thing is, going back to that AstroTurf, that inauthenticity, like, I don't understand how anybody can look at her when they hear that and say, yeah, I want to vote for her. Or the fact that she can't tell you who she is, and she has to hide all the things, as you're saying, Rhino. She has to hide her socialist values and tendencies from you. That should tell you everything that you need to know, that she's inauthentic and the things that she wants to implement are bad for you and bad for the country.
And it's not even hers. It's somebody else's, what she wants to implement, right? They're telling her what they want.
Yeah.
And you can see more and more when, and I know that Carlos is going to be on top of this later with Joe Biden just kind of turning on Kamala. And he even said early, like, he's not happy about her and is going to kind of turn on her. And we see it more and more. And that's part of the reason why she is an empty puppet. She is exactly who she needs to be in whatever situation they want her to be in. So she will continue to play this game. They've all done it. Joe Biden's tried to relate. Jill Biden pretended she was Hispanic for a little bit, talking about breakfast burritos in San Antonio. This is what they try to do. They try to draw you in and pretend they're one of you. And then they try to indoctrinate you into their ideas.
This woman has nearly 4 years of being in leadership. And you have this scenario of just because she suddenly was dropped into this race in July, suddenly she's like new and fresh and wonderful.
Right.
No, there's a certain point where people just associate her with what has gone on the last 3.5 years. And if you were,
rightfully so,
for as many of the people on the left that try and tell me about how the economy is so good and everything's so great, if it was, she'd be doing better.
Yeah, she'd be riding the wave of success.
She'd be sitting back saying, listen, I'm a continuation of all the success that has gone on. Unfortunately, she is in a situation where she has to basically point out, yeah, I was part of it, but I wasn't really in charge.
But it's great, and it has been great.
It's been so good.
But I'm a new generation of the leaders moving forward. Well, which is it? I mean, it can't be good and great, but you're going to change it. Because none of that adds up.
The other thing, if she really showed who she was, 90% of her staff would leave, and campaigning would leave too,
92
right?
has already left. 100% would leave.
There you go. 100% of her staff would just leave her. But this is the game they have to play. They have nothing else left. They're going to continue to pretend that the Inflation Reduction Act is the greatest thing that ever happened yet. Inflation is exactly where it is. They're pretending that gas prices are coming down and energy is more available than ever, yet we see the prices going back up. I know that we're going to take pictures when Governor Kemp says, hey, we're going to relieve the gas tax for a little bit to help all these victims here in South Georgia and other areas to get those prices back down where it's manageable. And then Democrats are going to go out and say, see, Kamala Harris did this. No, these are the kind of lies. They don't really have anything that they've done. And I thought yesterday at the rally, and I thought over Friday when Joe Rogan had Donald Trump on, they were able to dispel a lot of those lies and rumors.
What was also fun, too, was the attempt to try and make Kamala Harris just a regular person. And when they tried to send, of all things, they sent her to the bar to have a beer with Gretchen Whitmer. Now, for somebody who reportedly has substance abuse issues, that was kind of fun to watch her head on over to the bar. And what happens? They even messed that up where the hot mic catches her talking about, we need to have, we have a problem with men. Right. We're trying to move men. It still comes back to, for 3.5 years, on a regular basis, I would watch what their version of what masculinity was. And I would see that if you were a hardworking regular dude, the Democrats didn't have anything for you. Now, if you wanted to be a man who wanted to chop off his penis and put on a pair of breasts, well then, hey, red carpet.
And
here
then
we
show
go.
them off on the White House lawn.
Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The still goes right back to when it comes to their biggest problem, how do you change this? in the span of basically 60 days when you have basically told these people on a regular basis, we're not interested in having your vote or having your interest.
Yeah, anymore. Yeah, we're uninterested in who you are and what you are, except for the fact we need your vote and we want you for a moment, and then we'll let you just go back into whatever it is you're doing, and we won't pay you any attention anymore. But that whole thing with Gretchen Whitmer was so weird because both of them, like, how can you miss all the boom mics that are right over the top of you? I mean, you're being on camera all the time.
Yeah,
like, just the fact that they were so oblivious.
But her voters and the people that support her aren't going to turn against that. They're going to be like, oh, that was brilliant. That's what they, want from their voters is just go along with everything we're doing. Play the charade. Play this game that we're playing. And just, if you could, just go out on social media and reiterate our lies for us. Please, please, please. And that's what the Democrats and their voter base right now is doing, and they're going to continue to do. Kamala Harris has a huge problem with men. And when they do go out there and say, hey, black men, you understand, we're going to pander to you now. But look at their panders. They're so racist against that black men's group that they're saying the most important thing that we can do for you is make sure that we're going to legalize marijuana for you. We're going to make sure that you don't go to jail for marijuana. That's what you think of your group? Yeah. That's it? How about, I would give you the small business loans. At least that was, hey, we're going to help you build these businesses in your neighborhoods. That would have been a great pander. But they went to marijuana and the fact that, hey, if the black guy votes for Donald Trump, will black women like him? Nope. Make him pop the balloon. Yeah. That's how ridiculous they're pandering to black men.
And it is not working. Because I think anybody that's paying attention sees through it. Anybody that has, you don't even have to pay attention a lot. Mm-hmm. When you see something like that comes down, you're like, that's not for me. That's not what I am, who I am. And I understand it.
You mean all the black men and women at the rally yesterday, the Nazi rally?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, unbelievable. It was a great mix of people, though.
It was very diverse.
Huge. That's what New York is.
Yeah, it's a melting pot.
The mainstream media has a new target in their quest to destroy Trump. Tell you who it is after the Fox News update. When we continue the Morning Extra. Doug, Rhino, and Los until 10.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Pete, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Our national news media, most local news media, they are not objective reporters of the truth. They have an agenda. The agenda is overwhelmingly left-wing. The agenda is overwhelmingly Democrat. The anchors, the reporters, the producers, the columnists, they all want Kamala Harris to win. They despise Donald Trump. They want him to go away. And they are not going to report anything that could damage the Democrat message or could make people, voters, actually curious about some of the things they hear.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
To understand what makes Diamonds Direct so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back 60 years, when a diamond cutter became well known for his exceptional craftsmanship. His diamond cutting business flourished for decades. Then his sons got involved and started selling these exceptional diamonds to upscale jewelry stores here in America. After a few years, these wholesalers decided to change the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices they had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success, and Diamonds Direct was born. Today, Diamonds Direct provides that extraordinary value to people all over America, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best prices, period. Diamonds Direct, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history, rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Proud to call ATL home. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
Customer service seems like a lost art these days, but EMC Security is bringing it back. I was blown away with their service. They answer the phone quickly and truly want to help you, which is rare these days. My technician was friendly, answered all my questions, and got everything installed perfectly. I highly recommend EMC Security.
EMC Security, exceeding customer expectations since 1998.
Call or visit emcsecurity.com for a free quote.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to The Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
This is Bruce Hagan, the people's lawyer. When I started my firm, it was with the idea of providing personal representation for personal injury cases. We treat everybody like family, and it makes me so proud to work with my son to provide a great family-oriented law firm.
This is Matt Hagan. As a father-son team, we know the importance of working together to get our clients back on their feet. Let us here at Hagan Law be your advocates. You can find everything you need to know at hagan-law.com.
hagan-law.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all Four Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Nearly 42 million votes cast already. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Around a quarter of the people expected to vote this year have already done so. Early voting starts today in Colorado and Washington, D.C. There's been record-breaking early voting in New York City, where former President Trump packed Madison Square Garden last night.
Former President Donald Trump taking the stage at MSG, making a bold final pitch to tens of thousands of voters in the deep blue state, which included a promise to bring back the American dream.
This will be America's new golden age.
Trump also celebrating the Republican Party becoming a party of inclusion after receiving support from voters in traditionally Democrat voting blocs. Other speakers included Hulk Hogan, Dr. Phil, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, House Speaker Mike Johnson, and many, many more.
Fox's Brooks Singman, Vice President Harris in Philadelphia, tells young first-time voters, make your voices heard.
For you, this is not theoretical. This is not political. This is not about some debate. It is about your lived experience, and you are here, and I see you because I see your power.
She has 3 events in Michigan today, including a rally with running mate Tim Walz. Trump has 2 events in Georgia. South Carolina Senate Republican Lindsey Graham says former President Trump officials are wrong to call Trump dangerous and a fascist.
Graham forcefully pushed back.
He's not a fascist. He's not Hitler. And that shows you how desperate this campaign is. You got 3 retired generals have been out of the game for a while, 3 weeks before the election, trying to replace joy with fear.
Senator Graham said he believes the former president is the best hope to end conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine and restore the American economy. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Forecasters are watching weather in the southern Caribbean that could become a late-season tropical storm. America's listening to Fox News.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
I wake up every morning with the Morning Extra.
And we're glad that you do, and hopefully you will continue and tell others to do the same thing, whether it is on the Extra 106.3 app, 106.3 FM, 1230 AM, streaming extra1063.com, or on the Extra 106.3 YouTube channel. Any of those will do just fine, and we appreciate you being here. 404-741-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. If you would like to discuss anything that we're talking about, you'd like to get involved in the conversation, you're always welcome. Or if there's something that we've missed that we need to be talking about, that you're like, how are these guys not talking about this one thing? How are they missing it? Then call us up, let us know. That way we can discuss it with you. That way you can get us on track. You can be the executive producer of the show this morning. Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra. I got up early Saturday morning. We drove up to Mineral Bluff. Beautiful, just north of Blue Ridge, and it's such a gorgeous day up there. It was beautiful, and I got up on the back deck, watched the sun come up over the mountains, and was watching the Joe Rogan Donald Trump podcast. Los had sent it out saying, hey, it dropped. It was about 10 o'clock Friday night. Does that sound right?
Yeah, about right around 10, 11 o'clock.
And so I saw it come in. I was like, there's no way I'm going to watch it tonight. And I was probably a little too deep in the rum and coke, but
I got like 40 minutes done.
Yeah.
And then I did the same thing.
Oh, gotcha.
I was like way too deep. Got to watch it Saturday morning.
So Saturday morning, I get up and just prop up the phone on the back deck and went to town, man, and was fascinated by it all and knew that this was going to be monumental. It's something that shifts minds and hearts and opinions. And I also knew, Rhino, that the mainstream media was going to despise it.
Oh, boy, did it take about 7 minutes for them to just pull this entire ripcord of, oh, no, what are we going to do? What do we say now? We've got to fact check everything that he says. Well, these are all lies and false claims. And, well, CNN started right there. Politico, of course, jumped on it and wanted to say, hey, the only reason he's doing this is because she has somebody bigger and better, and Beyonce and Houston, and he's in Austin with Joe Rogan. I don't know what he expects. He's trying to bring men to his campaign. That is the dribble that you're going to get from mainstream media. CNN, their fact-checking, by the way, is just taking facts that he actually says or he believes. They're not even real facts. And saying, well, we don't believe him. We don't believe that there was any fraud in the 2020 election. So there's a fact that he got wrong.
Well, it was a small thing. And you want to talk about drivel. The idea that while he's knocking that out and then moves on to the next campaign appearance from there, Kamala Harris is being booed off stage, essentially.
Because lying to him about Beyonce's performance.
Telling everybody Beyonce's performing, and then that didn't really happen. But one of the things that was brought up by the mainstream media was they talked about when it came to reproductive energy, here's nuclear, here's solar, here's wind, and Donald Trump brought up the dangers that goes on with wind. He talked about the windmills situation and how often you have to replace them. And he also talked about when they are in the middle of the ocean, it's doing damage to whales. And the media, no, it's not. And then actual people that actually are in charge of this stuff go, yeah, it is.
It is.
Here's what's going on. This is one thing after another. The man is painfully obvious. That's what he is. He just flat out tells you how things are. And the initial, idea by media is to call him a liar until they actually get educated on the topic themselves.
It was funny to see very early on in the Joe Rogan interview, Trump says, I don't know why I always get as much press as I do. And Rogan says, well, I know. Yeah, you say some wild you say some wild stuff. We've never had a politician that wasn't rehearsed. We never had a politician just shoot from the hip. And you're not exactly a politician. You're something so different that nobody really knows how to consume it, digest it. It was a funny moment early on in that podcast. And I thought, it really set the tone for everything else to come behind it.
I agree 100% with you. It did set the tone because what Joe Rogan understands, and I think we all understand, is that Donald Trump is funny. That Donald Trump is a stand-up comedian and has great timing. We hear the jokes. We hear the sarcasm. CNN, Politico, MSNBC, they hear that clip and take it and turn it into hate speech, right? That's the difference. And I thought Joe Rogan might have just destroyed mainstream media. That's why you're seeing this backlash. He destroyed them. Because what he did was he actually used facts. He actually used real-world experiences and showed exactly why the mainstream media is a complete fraud. So, of course, I expected them to retaliate in any way they could.
Well, Joe Rogan was not fact-checking in the way that the media does. Joe Rogan asked you to explain. And when we're talking about a 5-minute, 10-minute segment on CNN where, we got to fact check, we got to have this discussion about it. All right, you can get away with it as a politician. 3 hours?
You can't. You can't
You
hide
just
from it.
can't. And that was the entirety of what happened when, because this invitation was extended to Kamala Harris, and what it came down to was there were stipulations reportedly that were put on it, things you could ask, things that you could not. That does not work on the Joe Rogan experience.
Or any of the alternative media, because they're not beholden to you. They're not, and they even brought up too in the vein of mainstream media when they were talking about CBS completely editing, footage. They got into that, and then they got into IDs to vote.
Yeah,
and no one could figure. And Joe Rogan himself said, "Dude, you don't do that unless you want to cheat."
Oh, yeah.
Which is the truth. It's what everybody knows. This is not like uncovering or unearthing anything, but it was good to hear him say it.
Okay, so first of all, one of the fact checks, by the way, on CNN was when Donald Trump said, when you go to the grocery store, you have to show an ID. He's talking about buying, obviously,
liquor.
cigarettes and liquor. So that was a fact. You don't have to show an ID when you go and buy groceries. That's not what he said. That's the game they're playing with this fact checking. The other thing I thought about, and I'm glad you kind of brought it up too, is Donald Trump sat there for 3 hours. Unscripted, back and forth. It was a conversation more than an interview. 3 hours. No, hey, you got to ask this, that, the other. We're looking at a CBS interview or a CNN interview where they did 41 minutes and had to cut out more than half of that to get 18 minutes of Kamala Harris. That's the difference in these candidates. He is willing to speak. She's willing to cut up and hide the truth by making a 41-minute interview into an 18.
And quite honestly, I hit the 2 hour and 15-minute mark, and then I did what I normally do when it comes to Joe Rogan podcast. All right, am I really going to finish this last 45 minutes? That's typical of what happens every single time. And that was the deal. It's like I went ahead and fought through it and decided, all right, I'm going to hang for a little bit longer. And I thought that when it came to, and some of the stuff we'll end up playing a little bit later in this show, I think that's when you started to actually dig into what was really interesting about that, about, the mistakes you've made. Considering that Kamala Harris now 3 times in this entire cycle has been asked, what would you fix?
Nothing.
And it's
all good.
I think I just worked too hard.
Yeah.
Whereas the dude, when it came to Donald
Trump,
comes
to mind.
He flat out told you, hey, I made some hiring errors, and that's what I'm going to do. It's totally different.
And Rogan was trying to get in that early, too. It took a little while to get back around to it, but they did. Another thing that Rogan knew that was coming, and I thought it was interesting, is that there was that part of the interview where they were talking about Robert E. Lee being the greatest general in American history, and everybody knows that's the case. And Rogan even says they're going to get you. They're going to nail you on praising the Confederacy. That's how they're going to spin this. And of course, they gave the background. They talked in depth about Robert E. Lee and who he was and what he was for and why he did what he did. And then The Guardian did exactly what Joe Rogan said they were going to do. And I'm sure there's more. That was just the first one that I saw by that evening that had been released. And they called the interview long and rambling, and they demonized immigrants and praised Putin and have affinity for the Confederacy, have affinity for Robert E. Lee. Dude, you knew it was coming. Joe Rogan knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming. And sure enough, on demand, there it was. They just had nothing else. They're like, This is what we'll use. Even though they've already called us out ahead of time.
And by the way, this was an offshoot of talking about when he had first gotten into office in 2017 and talking about wanting to go to the Lincoln bedroom. And then this offshoot of, by the way, Lincoln had to deal with this because of Robert E. Lee. He was one of the greatest American generals.
Talking about depression and all kinds of things.
He was a West Point guy. He had helped win the Spanish-American War. And then he decided, I'm going to represent my state. And so that then turns into, well, he's supporting the Confederacy. He's supporting Robert E. Lee. And Joe Rogan called it right off the bat.
He already called most of those what they're going to do to Trump. And I think that's really important when you do that, because then it just crushes their narrative. So let the Guardian go out there. Nobody but, the people who are already voting for Kamala Harris and the mentally insane read that anyway. But everybody else stayed away from it, especially mainstream. Even CNN, they came up with the McDonald's thing, and they tried to, Tad was still alive when Lincoln. I mean, they went to these little things. Oh, well, Trump really wasn't on Oprah's last week. It was a few weeks before that.
Right.
This is their fact checking. So what I think that, when Donald Trump says this is what they're going to say, it's kind of a joke, but it's real. It kind of shuts them down real quick. So I did enjoy that part too.
Yeah, me too.
Joe Rogan's brilliant, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a man who has changed the way. And Carlos has brought this up for so long, and I love it because, we all agree. Digital media right now is taking over. It's done. Mainstream media, you're going to watch here and there. Maybe you're going to watch your local. I think you can still pick that up. But the rest of them, I can't imagine people actually tuning in. And that's why you see those numbers going down for CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of them.
The mainstream media typically has about 8 to 10 minutes of consumption. And part of the reason why the podcast world is growing in the way that it is because it typically doubles that. It can get to about an average of about 25 minutes. By the way, just so everybody knows, we're at more than 30 minutes. So thank you. I appreciate that. 33 minutes of regular average consumption. That's how long you're hanging with us. We are basically aligned with the podcast world, where you are listening longer because you want more content and you want to understand the nuances of what is going on. That is what the Joe Rogan podcast essentially gives you. We're going to do 2 hours, 3 hours, so that it's not about a 5-minute snippet where somebody tries to pretend to be who they're going to go ahead and be, and here's 5 minutes, and let's move on to weather. It's 30 minutes, 3 hours at a time, where you actually get down to what the real content of who this person is.
Here's another fun fact check. This is when he was talking about China and Taiwan, and how when the Biden administration took over, China realized how weak they were and flew 28 bombers over Taiwan. Now, Trump did say it was the day I left. Of course, he was maybe exaggerating a little bit about that. It was 4 days after he left the office.
Huge difference.
And it wasn't 28 bombers, 28 Chinese planes. Only 8 were bombers. The rest were fighters, anti-submarine aircraft, and a reconnaissance
Still
plane.
military-grade aircraft.
This is their fact-checking.
Yeah.
This is their fact-checking. Yeah, it's true, but he might have gotten this little detail wrong.
You have to nitpick.
They don't fact-check Kamala Harris on Project 2025 or any of the lies she tells.
Or anything, ever.
Zero.
At all, ever. I never thought in a million years when John Fetterman was elected that he would turn out to make sense, ever, because he's a liberal. He is. But there are those times when he has those moments of clarity, and I want to play one for you. He's being interviewed by this crazy lefty loony host, and she's trying to nail him on supporting Israel because he's been a vocal supporter of Israel, and I appreciate that, even though I don't agree with him on a lot. This woman tries to nail him on the pager incident. I want you to hear it. Listen to what is said by the interviewer and how Fetterman just eats her lunch.
You have gotten criticism from both Muslim groups and pro-peace Jewish groups. Last month, the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh chapters of the Council on American Islamic Relations, they issued a joint statement where they condemned you for saying that you loved Israel's pager attacks targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon.
I do. Absolutely.
Well, they said when our elected officials start condoning the civilian loss of life, our collective moral compass is irreparably harmed. That's a quote. And indeed, that attack did hurt and maim civilians.
It didn't. It was targeted for members of Hezbollah. No one uses beepers in that situation other than they were a member of Hezbollah.
There was a young child
that was a micro targeting to minimize civilians.
There was a young child who was killed who was taking the pager to their parent.
Unfortunately, tragically, because Daddy was a member of Hezbollah. That's tragic. He brought that danger and evil into their home, and that's what tragically resulted in that poor child's death, and that's what's so terrible. She paid the price because her father was a terrorist for Hezbollah.
So this woman just got schooled by a man who is suffering from a stroke that has a hard time forming sentences. That's how ignorant sometimes liberal reporters are. They try to push this message, this narrative that you're in favor of killing children. No, I'm in favor of killing terrorists. And unfortunately, a child of a terrorist was killed as well. That terrorist is responsible for his child's death. the liberal reporter just can't wrap that around her head. Or knows it.
She knows it.
Or knows it
Yeah.
and is trying to fight the other side.
Yeah, she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. Because you know what? She also knows that these same terrorists put their children in harm's way. They put backpacks full of bombs and weapons on their own children and have them run at soldiers. And not just Israeli soldiers. They do it in the Middle East to the American soldiers. Do you know how many veterans come back and tell me that the worst day of their life is when these children come running down at them from these terrorist groups, and they know what they have in their backpacks because they can see the kids crying and screaming because they don't want to leave this planet because of their fathers and mothers who force them to do this? Those reporters don't ever go to the other side and blame the terrorists for putting their children in harm's way. They only go and say, hey, Israel had no idea these kids were in the hospital, but they bombed them.
I guess if I was involved in terrorism and at some point somebody put a Tomahawk missile through the top of my roof and it, took out my whole family, okay, that's problematic, but it only happened because I was involved in terrorism.
It's pretty straightforward. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about.
I'm sorry. When you get the pager that happens to blow up, it's because your ass is involved in terrorism.
That's it.
What more do you want, ma'am? What more do you want? But it's just funny to see liberals try to twist that into something that it's not because they have no leg to stand on. To Rhino's point,
they hate Jews.
They never talk about the tunnels.
Nope.
They never talk about putting terrorists in hospitals so people have to bomb the hospital or shoot at the hospital or shoot at a regular civilian house because there's terrorists staged in it everywhere.
We have barely gotten a chance to talk about it. So when Israel ends up releasing their information 48 hours ago of we've started operations against Iran, and I don't know how much more clear I can be about it. I have talked about how all of the attacks that are going against Israel are all based out of Iran.
Yep.
Everything is out of Iran. All the money, all the funding, everything is out of Iran. So at some point, the Israelis have to deal with Iran. Man, because it's not helpful to this administration, why don't you go ahead and try to find some information on what's going on between Israel and Iran right now?
Nah, they don't want to know.
You're not going to find it.
Well,
it's been whitewashed.
Absolutely. It's been taken off the internet and will continue to be done that way.
You have to go dig for that information of what's going on between those two countries.
Google and Microsoft, I think they account for 90+% of every piece of information that's shared on the internet. What are they? Crazy lefties. So they're not going to allow anything to be found that doesn't go to the narrative.
It is so bad for Kamala Harris that it's almost like this worldwide event that everyone should be paying attention to, like it didn't happen.
Right. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3, the questions Kamala can't answer, Trump did answer on the Joe Rogan podcast. We're going to cover some of those for you after Headlines with Rhino next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Tug, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
The urban culture of violence, and nobody talks about it. Civil rights leaders, no. Law enforcement, no. Politicians, no. The number one cause of death among young male blacks is young male blacks.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
It's fall, y'all. And no matter what your family has on the plate, Subaru of Gwinnett has a vehicle for you. If you're headed to a game, then tailgate in style in the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester. It holds everything you need for the tailgate and keeps the most precious cargo, your family, safe. Maybe you're just taking a ride up to the mountains to see the leaves or driving to spend time with the family. Wherever you're headed this fall, the 2025 Subaru Outback shares your spirit with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and up to 32 miles per gallon. And we're proud to offer you so much more than a car buying experience. At Subaru of Gwinnett, we extend that saving to our amazing and reliable service department, where you'll get unmatched service and specials you'll love during our fall service event. Visit us on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth and let us show you how our family can take care of your family. Or start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com.
Hey, Georgia neighbors, it's time to expect more from your Medicare Advantage. Discover Sonder Health's custom plans tailored just for Georgians. Saunders offers unique benefits, including special plans for those living with chronic conditions. Some plans even come with grocery or gas benefits to support your overall well-being. Sonder Health makes it easy to get the coverage you need. See for yourself what today's Medicare Advantage can do for you. Visit SonderHealthPlans.com, a healthier state of life. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO and PPO with Medicare contracts. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Extra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcast. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
Georgia, it's time to make our voices heard. The Georgia Republican Party is committed to protecting our families, our freedoms, and our way of life. In the upcoming 2024-25 elections, we're dedicated to informing, educating, attracting, and inviting all Georgians to vote Republican at every level, state, local, and federal. Your support is crucial. Donations of any size are welcomed and appreciated. Visit gagop.org to donate today, and together, let's make Georgia's future friendly and prosperous for everyone in Georgia. gagop.org.
Who doesn't want a great smile? The world seems brighter because it is. Hey, it's a Kimmer. How's it going? You know, that's only one reason to see my dentist, Dr. Dina Giesler at Atlanta Smiles. The other reason, of course, is to take care of your teeth, or they're going to make your life miserable. We all know that. But when's the last time you were smiling before you walked in the door like me? Because I know Dr. Dina and her staff are the happiest Kimmer babes you ever saw. We're going to fix me up, and I always take the gas. They tell me my best stories come out that way. And you can actually get a doggy right there, napping in my lap, a little doggy. I said, go ahead, work away. Dr. Dina's a Navy vet, ranked a master dentist, which only 1% can say. She's been doing veneers since before anybody even knew what that was. My first visit was 30 years ago. Cosmetic dentistry, cleaning, bridges, crowns, especially keeping your teeth and gums healthy to last as long as you do. Veterans Automatic, 10% discount. Just tell them when you call. 404-263-7733. It's atlantasmiles.com. Your new smile's waiting for you. atlantasmiles.com. Tell them the Kimmer sent you. Ask for the doggy. atlantasmiles.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 28th. 3 people in Albany were killed and the driver of a car was seriously injured when the vehicle went over a set of railroad tracks at a high speed, became airborne, flipped, and crashed. The driver was found in the driver's seat while 3 passengers were ejected from the car and pronounced dead at the scene. Georgia State Patrol reported that the driver was traveling at 75 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone when officers attempted to pull the car over. Officers also found loaded guns in the vehicle, which may be linked to the Albany State University shooting. Any updates on that case will come from the GBI. President Trump will be in Atlanta today for a rally at McCamish Pavilion on the Georgia Tech campus following an electrifying event last night at New York's Madison Square Garden. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz will also be in Georgia this week, with stops in Savannah and Columbus scheduled for Tuesday. The Atlanta Falcons held on late to defeat their division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-26. Falcons QB Kirk Cousins threw for 276 yards and 4 touchdowns in the victory. With the win, the Falcons took control of the NFC South and now hold a 5-3 record. With your headlines, Scott Rhino, Extra 106.3.
You got bored up Goey Virgin River rocking his Falcons cap. I don't think anybody expected this Falcons team to be what they are, those.
It was fun yesterday.
Yeah.
Considering that it came down to the final drive and then having to play defense, I was on board. I watched the whole game.
Yeah. So, but I remember, early in the season, I would be in the bullpen, which is our break room area, I guess, here at Dickey Broadcasting. And the 680 guys were like, season's over. Mail it in. It's done. And I was it was like the 3rd game of the year or something, and they're just in panic mode, melting down.
It was after the first game.
Yeah.
They did it after the first game too? Wow.
They want to be Jets fans like me. I've given up. I don't even watch anymore. Who cares about them? I was watching Falcons yesterday. I watched the Redskins, Bears. I was watching a bunch of different games. Anything but, the Falcons. I'm surprised you're not wearing your Patriots hat after they beat the Jets the way they did yesterday, Joey.
Maybe it's just my patience. Like
let's see how it plays out, maybe.
First week, I don't freak out. It's the same thing. Like, and Tug, you're guilty of it too. You'll send me the text message of like, oh my God, it's the worst thing. And I'm like, let's let it play out.
But I always say, make me feel better about this because I know you're the balance man.
I want the entirety of the picture before I make a determination about what is going on. And so week 1 of a 17-week season or the Alabama game versus Georgia does not a season make.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Let's see how it plays.
That's different. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's different now. It's like college, it was the day. Now, NFL, you pretty much know at this point. Like, I mean, have an opportunity.
We're getting there. We're getting the profile of teams.
Yeah.
But still.
Like, my Jets are done. It's a done deal. I don't care anymore.
But this league
we don't even have a coach.
Is so driven by injuries that you can be the best team in football right now. 2 injuries and suddenly, it's very problematic. We're talking about 10 weeks until you really know where we're going to be at by the time we're getting to the playoffs. So it's a marathon.
Look, the Falcons' defense looked good yesterday. You know, I mean, to a point, they let up a lot, but there was a lot of good that I saw. And I know that you still have so much talent. Kirk Cousins is a talented quarterback. He threw for 4 TDs yesterday.
He was good.
You have a really good tight end. You have a lot of good things happening for the Falcons right now, and they're putting it together. And I got to be honest, I like Raheem Morris's passion for sure on the sidelines.
Yeah.
They just don't have a pass rush.
No.
That's what it comes right down to. And you wonder when they start playing those sorts of teams. You know, you can play bend, not break defense the entirety of the time. At a certain point when you're 32nd, when it comes to creating havoc, creating pressure on the quarterback, that's going to show up at some point.
I've been having to talk my sweet wife off the ledge when it comes to the World Series.
No, don't leave me. Oh, wait.
that was before. Now I've gotten through that. Now it's, she's in panic mode about the World Series because Friday night, and we won't keep it on sports very long, but that was incredible for Freddie Freeman to come in and do that. 36 years to the minute that Kirk Gibson hit his game-winning grand slam, which was cool. I saw Chipper Jones had tweeted that out.
I still remember watching that in my our across-the-street neighbors, the Morris's house. And at the time, in San Antonio, Texas, the AA affiliate, the San Antonio Missions, was the Dodgers affiliate. So you had so many Dodger fans in San Antonio, not because they're like, big LA fans. Like you just
saw the kids come through.
Yeah. You knew all the kids. And so, by the time that ball got hit and then seeing fast forward, Freddie Freeman get that thing done with the grand slam, it was cool. Like I said, it's hard not to love Freddie.
It is, for sure. Morning Extra at Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino, and Los. All of us watched the Joe Rogan Experience podcast with Donald Trump. And we weren't the only ones. Good Lord, the numbers that they are moving.
33 million on YouTube as of now. You can't see the numbers on Spotify and some of the other forums, but we're talking legitimately. We're probably going to do 50 or 60 million views across everything.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to come down to. And what Donald Trump did, it wasn't just the fact that he came across as pretty measured, pretty chill. Here's what I'm going to discuss. But then he started talking my language. All right. He started talking about when I say, what did Donald Trump mess up? And I talk about hiring the first time around. That remember how big of a story it was? It's like Donald Trump keeps firing these people. Like, the administration's in chaos. It's because he looked at it and said, these aren't good dudes. These people are not good at what they're doing.
And that's the exact opposite of what Joe Biden has done.
Right.
They've fired no one for failing.
As Rhino and I joke around about, you have to steal luggage in order to be fired. Okay, like that's part of what goes on. Rhino points it out. If you don't steal luggage, you're good. That's how it goes.
Even if you do, though, don't get caught.
Just don't get caught.
Don't wear dresses on TV.
It wasn't the first time that happened.
You had a man wearing a woman's dress, and she's like, "Wait a minute, that's my dress from my luggage."
I'm a designer.
And she's like an African woman. Yeah. Like physically from Africa. And she's like, wait a minute, this man is wearing all of my dresses. I see him on TV and in interviews. And sure enough, it turned they narrow it down. And then that's the only way, stealing women's dresses and wearing them on TV.
So Donald Trump is asked about making the mistake of hiring. And this was music to my ears. Take a listen to what he talked about as far as what happened the first time around and what's going to happen this time around.
The biggest mistake I made was I picked some people. I picked some great people, you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
neocons?
Yeah, neocons or bad people or disloyal people or
people that were just
people that were into the people
bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're reading about him a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who was a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. You know John Bolton. A friend of mine called me up. I was picking Bolton, and he's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. He's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? It was in that I was picking Bolton, or I picked Bolton. He called up. He said, "Don't pick him. Why? He's a bad guy." Now, he wasn't in politics at all. He's in various businesses. He said, "He's a bad guy. He's just, it always works out bad with that guy." I said, "Oh, man, I wish you told me this 2 weeks ago. I already hired him. He's here." And he was right. But he was good in a certain way. He's a nut job. And every time I had to deal with a country, when they saw this whack job standing behind me, they said, "Oh, man, Trump's going to go to war with us." He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East.
It's so funny that he brings him up. He's like, he's a moron, but he's a whack job. And so they feared me because I had this guy.
Yeah.
The reality of what's happening, and Kamala Harris is victim to what's happening because that was so brilliant what they did. And we talked about the 33 million views just on YouTube. But see, the one thing about YouTube is, and what I did before we were doing this radio station, is you can restream things that are going on and add your own commentary. So start taking some of those big streamers that do this, and you start to realize as they're doing Joe Rogan, you're watching more. You look at a Kamala Harris rally from yesterday, you get 11,000 views. You get one clip about Donald Trump on Joe Rogan saying your weave is getting wider.
Meaning he's drifting away from the topics a little bit.
Yeah, and it continues to get wide. But see, that's the brilliance of, a lot of people don't understand why he did the weave or what it was called, but now he tells you why he does that to bring people into the story. That alone on MSNBC got 140,000 views. She got 11,000 for her entire rally. They need Donald Trump. They want Donald Trump because it's the only way they can break this media and be on YouTube. He is setting records. If you're going to get 33 million people to watch that compared to 11,000 that watch one of her rallies, that's why you see people filling up Madison Square Garden.
Well, this is where this is all working because Donald Trump talked about the hiring practices that he had before, talked about what he would change, and then he also talked about the fact that they are not, when it comes to a transition team, waiting on the Government Accountability Office. He's funding it himself. So by the time that drops, then you had RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard both bringing up the transition team's already being funded by Donald Trump himself, and he's not taking the daily briefings because this is how the deep state infiltrates you, and then they start dropping information. So, for instance, if Donald Trump was to take the regular daily briefing that presidential candidates would do, you would within a couple days have Donald Trump and his administration is leaking sensitive information.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what they would do.
That's what they did last time.
And so they have decided, and this is where it's the difference in that man has learned. He's figured it out. He's figured out what the deep state does. He has decided, I'm going to insulate. And so by the time that I start day one, I'm going to cut the head off the deep state.
Mm-hmm. And I believe this is the reason I think things got a little haywire with the people he hired is because when he was elected president, he'd never been in politics. He didn't understand the depth of what was happening around him. And I fully believe that he thought, okay, now that I'm the president, they work for me just like in a business. There's not going to be any defectors. There's not going to be anybody. Like, they work for me, so they're going to do the right thing by me. And that naive point of view caught up with him with his hires.
I don't think that he understood how Game of Thrones it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where each individual person recognizes himself as their own entity. And while, yes, they might be working for you for the time being, they're also working for their own career.
Yeah.
And I feel like he believed in the people that were there were good people, genuinely. Or wanted to believe it.
Sure.
Maybe was told to believe it. I would have believed it that you're going to do whatever it is to make the country as successful as it can, and they had no inclination to do that. That's where I think this time around, and then to the point of the clip from Joe Rogan, he's going to get it right where he didn't last time.
Yeah, I think he will, because the first time you're relying on everybody else to tell you who is going to be doing a good job or who needs, because that's what this is. This is a group of people who are protecting their own and protecting themselves and their own interests, especially when it comes to the military-industrial complex. So you start to realize that when Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, when John Kelly, when Adam Kinzinger, these are all military-industrial complex people. Start looking at their histories and realize who now is against Donald Trump, the ones that were making money for nothing. That's the difference in what's happening now. He knows who these people are. He sees it all. It's going to take more than 4 years to clean out a swamp. It took 100 years to fill up a swamp.
That's right, yeah.
So we're going to have to drain this at one point. And I really just think that we are in a new era. I mean, I can't get over Madison Square Garden in New York yesterday. I really can't. I never would have expected to see that in such a blue city, especially New York. I know that people live in that city and just kind of ignore everything else. I mean, it's part of growing up there. You just walk down the street, keep your head down, and just keep going until you get to where you are. This was different. People were excited again. And I think people are really excited about that, which is why people are so afraid of Donald Trump coming and, to be quite honest, exposing those people like Bolton and the rest of them.
Well, this is the hope of Elon Musk. Granted, the man took over Twitter after spending $44 billion and basically cut 80% of the staff. And guess what? It's still here.
Yes,
it still works.
It actually works better.
And so you wonder if you are, if you're not beholden to any of the power players in Washington. That's the whole idea about insulating yourself. If you are not hiring these people, if you are not going to be inundated with these people that are looking out for, the corporate power players or anybody else from the swamp, how much damage can you do to it? And Elon Musk represents that guy.
Man, a lot.
They're crushing it.
No doubt. And we'll talk about that a little bit. Saturday was an often overlooked anniversary that should have been celebrated. We'll tell you why. Next on the Morning Xtra, Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. Beck after that. Clay and Buck following Beck. And then the local afternoon show with the Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder from 3 until 6 here on Xtra 106.3.
Xtra 106.3 brings you the biggest names from Georgia politics to the national stage.
Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization.
They tried everything that they could to destroy him, to try and take down our family, to try and separate our family, to try and create division, to mock him, and yet his poll numbers are the highest that they've ever been, and yet he's more beloved right now than he's ever been before.
Welcome to the show, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
When those young men said, Christ is King, Jesus is Lord, and she said, you're at the wrong rally, she is telling people of faith and Christians they don't belong in the Democrat Party. Democrat policies absolutely line up with her statement.
Find the full interviews on the all-new Xtra 106.3 app and stream Atlanta's conservative talk across Georgia.
D. Geller & Son Jewelers is celebrating 85 years in Atlanta this month. It's been an honor to be your hometown family jeweler since 1939. Founded as the South's first diamond and jewelry wholesaler, D. Geller & Son brings those quality standards and that unbeatable pricing to the comfort of your neighborhood jewelry store. D. Geller & Son is still 100% family-owned and operated, and we love our community. That's why we have trained jewelers you can trust in every store for professional, reliable service on site. It's why we have Atlanta's best lifetime care plan for free, covering everything from ring sizing to diamond upgrades. And most importantly, it's why we're committed to find or design the perfect piece of jewelry for your most special moments. No matter the budget, you can be confident D. Geller & Son Jewelry is the best quality and value you can find. It's going to last, and they're going to love it. There's no jeweler in Atlanta like D. Geller & Son, and that's why we've been Atlanta's most trusted jeweler since 1939. Come celebrate 85 years with us in Atlanta, Kennesaw, or Sandy Springs, and read our story online at dgeller.com.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, the Marketing Mad Men. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Mad Men every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Xtra 106.3.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
It either is or it isn't. When it comes down to it, that's all that really matters when choosing a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz. It's either certified by Mercedes-Benz factory-trained and certified technicians, or it isn't. It's either backed by an unlimited mileage warranty for up to 7 years, or it isn't. It's absolute confidence in genuine Mercedes-Benz parts, or it isn't. Welcome to the Mercedes-Benz Dream Days sales event, now through September 30th. Come in today and take advantage of finance rates as low as 2.99% APR special financing on select models. Because in the end, it's either Mercedes-Benz certified pre-owned or it isn't. We're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Not all offers apply to all vehicles, and special financing available to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Services through October 31st, 2024. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit us at rbmofatlanta.com or call 770-390-0700 for details.
Media Minute with Howard Kurtz.
Donald Trump spent 3 hours talking to Joe Rogan on his insanely popular podcast. And this was a coup for the former president because in the past, Rogan has refused to have him on. But it was a very sympathetic interview. 11 million views in just 13 hours, and that's on YouTube alone. Now, at one point, Trump was saying, well, before I got into politics, I got a lot of publicity anyway. I don't know why that is. And Rogan said, because you said a lot of wild blank. And then CNN, in all their brilliance, highlighting your wild blank, made you much more popular. Rogan also saying that the media, to a large extent, act as a propaganda arm for the Democratic Party. Now, Kamala Harris also wanted to appear with Rogan, whose audience is mostly men, mostly young men, but apparently was turned down. So Rogan likes Trump better than we would have realized. And Trump, 3 hours, 6 hours, the guy can go forever. With your Media Minute, Howie Kurtz, Fox News.
Get connected to Extra 106.3 on all your favorite apps. Then download ours and stream the station across Georgia. We're live online at extra1063.com. Stream live video from the studios on YouTube. And of course, Kimmer, Bortz, and your favorite Extra shows in crystal clear digital on the Extra 106.3 app.
Doug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra, 404-741-1230. If you have anything you'd like to say about maybe the Joe Rogan podcast that we're going to discuss in a moment, or the hate rally that happened last night at Madison Square Garden.
Nazis.
So says AOC this morning on Morning Joe. And this was really a hate rally. It was not a presidential rally. It was not just a campaign rally. I think it's important for people to know and to understand these are mini January 6th rallies. These are mini Stop the Steal rallies. This is AOC. This is, the Democrat Party in a nutshell. Absolutely insane is what they are and what she is. But that's the message this morning that's going out after an incredibly successful rally at Madison Square Garden last night.
Well, they got to shut it down any way they can. They don't want to see this kind of excitement because the reality is,
put out the fire.
They're the ones who are saying we can't look. Josh Shapiro's the best candidate we have, but he's a Jew. Yeah, I mean, these are the same people that they had George Lopez at a Waltz rally making fun of Mexicans. No problem. Nobody brought it up. Nobody put up, this took place here at the Alamo one day. Like, this is so ridiculous, the way that they want to play this game, but don't expect it to change.
Don't worry about what they say over the next 8 days. Yeah. This is what desperation looks like. Mm-hmm. And they're going to paint you in a certain way, and all they're trying to do, because here's the very simple fact. They can't get their voters out. They cannot get their voters out because they are not energized by sleepy Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who's dead fish Kamala. They cannot get them energized. I tell you, and it's anecdotal, I pointed out, my wife hasn't even pondered going to go vote yet.
Oh, that's good news.
All right. And
that's
this is a woman who's voted
Democrat
for 25 years.
Right.
Hasn't even pondered. It's almost an inconvenience for her. And Kamala Harris doesn't motivate her in any way to rush out. I voted day one. Why? Because that's where the energy is.
Yep.
They don't have any of this energy. It's not there.
There's no joy.
There is none. There was joy last night at Madison Square Garden, however,
Sure
if you
was.
saw any of that. And it was extraordinary. And it was an incredible rally.
They're going on The View because they can't get their own voters out.
I know, right?
All right? They're going into all these places because they can't get their own voters out because they're looking at her and just saying, this is not worth my time.
Seems problematic, doesn't it? Elon Musk last night I thought was incredible. You could tell he's an awkward dude to begin with.
So awkward and weird.
But so incredibly smart. And I'm not sure there's not some autism or some.
Oh, there's definitely
there's something.
Asperger's.
There's Asperger's
Well,
something.
Yeah, he's
in
got
there.
Asperger's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is it- do we know that? That's
yes,
confirmed?
He
Okay.
has Asperger's.
He's like
so
he's like Rain Man, a little bit more,
advanced.
He's
advanced
high
maybe,
functioning.
but
It's
high functioning. There you go.
Again, the idea that you don't experience the world the same way everyone else does in terms of emotions.
And you could see it when he was up there, and all those people were cheering, and he was like, "Oh!"
Yeah.
It was
He's
so funny.
Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory when he
Yeah.
gets a little bit of alcohol in him.
Yeah,
He
for
turns
sure.
into that.
Yeah, and it was cool when they were shouting his name. You know, he really didn't know how to respond. I thought it was interesting to see that play out. But even before he was on stage, we missed an opportunity to celebrate an anniversary that we should have, and it should be marked with the same respect as a lot of incredible dates in American history. October 26th, 2022, that was the day that Elon Musk bought Twitter. That was the day that Elon Musk saved free speech in America and around the world. No one knew how important this platform was, especially to the libs, especially to the commies, especially to the Democrat Party. That's why they despise Elon Musk so much. That he used to be their savior. He used to be their hero. He was all those things. And now he's the guy that took their ability to censor me and you away. That is no longer. So October 26th, we need to, because I didn't realize it until yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
October 26th is the day that we need to mark on the calendar, no different than any other holiday, because free speech was protected that day. God bless Elon Musk.
I think he did so much on that day. Obviously, the free speech, but I also think he crushed the propaganda wing, the mainstream media of the Democrat Party at the same time. He opened it up for what Joe Rogan did on Friday. Now, I think Joe Rogan obviously was doing a great job with all of his podcasts before then, but it really brought into, hey, I'm going to bring Ron DeSantis onto X, and we're going to do this here. We're going to have our rally here. We're going to have Donald Trump break the internet when he comes on X. We're changing the way that consumers will listen to political talk and find good candidates, and it'll be open and free. And I think that's what Elon Musk has done as well.
Can I make you uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Is it totally fine?
I love it, yeah.
All right.
May lean in.
Elon brought two words back into this whole thing and the entirety of the discussion. If I do something silly, you can call me gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or say like, hey, I think you do that. That's gay.
Mm-hmm.
No. It's
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
That's gay.
Okay. Now, are you saying I'm homosexual?
No.
No, you're just saying that's whatever.
That's goofy.
Yeah, same thing with retarded. Okay, those are the two words that are suddenly back in the lexicon where it is. I'm not saying that you're having some sort of handicap. What I'm saying is what you're doing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. These are the sorts of things that the left has a really big problem with. They immediately, oh my God, I can't believe you would possibly ever consider saying that. It is free speech. And the entirety of what you see from the left is, well, it's all hate speech. No. If there's hate speech, then I'll be able to determine that this is a hater. But the fact that you call anything that happens to be critical of somebody hate speech, the only reason why you're calling it that is because you don't want us being critical of other people.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
It was hard to, you couldn't say black for a long time, remember?
Yes.
Like you'd feel uncomfortable, or Jew.
I remember doing a sports show and being scolded.
As a Jew, I'm still
saying.
like, I'm a Jew, and I don't know if I could say this guy's a Jew. because you're going to get attacked. But you're absolutely right. Now, I personally don't like, saying the R word. That's just my personal thing. And, when I was doing charities, I signed a thing that said I wouldn't. But I do understand how it's used in different contexts.
I get it.
Now, if you guys do that, am I going to lose my mind? No, they will lose their mind on the left because it doesn't fit their agenda. Even though behind closed doors, they say it. Even on Twitter, what's the first thing? Do you know how many times I've been called the words that I've been told you're never allowed to say by people on the left?
The ones that say you can't say them?
Yeah, the ones who are so upset at Donald Trump for saying silly things. What do they come in and do? They sit there and, MAGA idiot, you're just R word, you're this. I have ones from them saying, and I fired back, hey, I have family members like that. That's why I don't use that word, but good for you. You're a good liberal. Keep up your good work and spreading your love. That's who these people are. That's it. It's just a virtue signal again.
I like the fact that when Joe hears about the stuff I do on the weekend, he's like, that's pretty gay.
Yeah, that's
like Joe Berger. Now,
that one I'm all open on, by the way.
Now, he's not saying that I'm homosexual.
No,
he's just saying, here's what it is. It's silly. It's the same idea. And the fact that it took a billionaire, the most richest man in the world, to recognize that free speech was going down the tubes and to have to spend this kind of money for an asset that, again, it's what you pay for it. But it's not like he's sitting back going, look at the billions I'm getting from Twitter.
No.
He did this strictly because this was right for American society
or
and
the
free
world,
speech
not
around
just
the world.
the world, truly around the world.
Oh, I mean, we're the flag bearer.
Absolutely.
If you lose it here, you don't have it anywhere else.
It is nowhere else. That's right.
Yeah, and not only just a billionaire, but a billionaire Democrat. I mean, how much worse is that? The same what you're seeing with Jeff Bezos right now. And look at how they're attacking him. And the reality is he realizes, I may be Democrat, but I am not Kamala Harris and that progressive, whatever that is. So that's why you're starting to see these people and big businesses kind of move away from this entire campaign of hate, because that's what this is. This isn't joy. They have to tell you it's joy, and it's all hate and fear-mongering. And you know what? What they did yesterday with this whole Nazi rally, that's the rhetoric that causes people to get shot.
Exactly
to
right.
create a fear like that, this is what they're doing. They're very violent people, the left, and they're going to continue to be that way. And they're going to play the game of, well, Carlos, you can't say fire in a movie theater.
Actually, the Supreme Court has said it's totally legal.
Absolutely right. And y'all
the
remember
fact
when
that Tim Walz tried to say these things, I'm like, how do you not know this stuff?
Because he's installed the same way.
I'm not sure what he knows, to be honest with you. When I hear him speak, I'm not sure what he's capable of. And
I'm afraid to say what I think he's capable of.
Yeah, well,
I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, maybe hold that one to yourself. Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. Georgia's Insurance Commissioner John King joins us next. 7 o'clock hour brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. We'll get you a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update, then more of the Morning Extra.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
If by some chance Kamala Harris does not become President of the United States, it certainly won't be because the mainstream media didn't do everything in their power to make sure she got elected. Over 90% of the people that work for the major networks will vote Democrat. They always do. And in their work days now, they make decisions designed to enhance Kamala Harris and make Donald Trump look like a warthog. Now, I have a perfect example for you. CBS. A week ago, CBS 60 Minutes did a profile of Kamala Harris. And during the editing of that profile, I saw one of the most egregious examples of intentional dishonesty and bias. Here's how it worked. The narrator asked Kamala Harris, well, it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. Her response was this. Listen to the word salad. Well, the work we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of the many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. Did any of you understand that word salad? CBS knew it was word salad. So they said, well, when we put this on the air, we can't let her look that bad. Now, that first response from the hyena was heard in a promo for that 60 Minutes episode. But when that episode actually aired, here is how it sounded. Well, it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. And she says, we're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. That was not the answer she gave during that promo. What happened? Did CBS just plug in another answer to another question to make her look good? Blatant dishonesty on the part of CBS. They are actively campaigning for Kamala Harris. And there you go. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
The buzz is back.
House call! Touchdown Jackets!
Next weekend, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets load up for a huge home battle as Bobby Dodd comes alive for the Yellow Jackets and the top-ranked Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, and he's gone. 20, 15, 10. House call! Jamal Haynes!
And we all know how this game ended last year, so be here for the Ramblin' Wreck pregame show 2 hours before kickoff on the Georgia Tech Radio Network.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
Donald Trump throws himself a homecoming party. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. After speeches from famous supporters like Elon Musk, Hulk Hogan, and Rudy Giuliani, the former president fires up the crowd, filling Madison Square Garden in New York City, introduced by his wife, Melania.
New York City and America needs their magic back.
On issue after issue, Kamala broke it, but I will fix it. So we're going to fix it.
Vice President Harris at an event in Philadelphia says Trump's economic plans, including tariffs, will cost Americans money.
Donald Trump will impose a 20% Trump national sales tax on everyday basic necessities, which will cost, the economists have measured it, will cost the average family nearly $4,000 a year. On the other hand, I will take on an issue like corporate price gouging.
President Biden plans to vote today.
President Biden will cast his ballot early this morning in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, the White House says. A growing number of Americans are taking advantage of early voting, either in person or by mail. Nearly 42 million people have already voted early, according to data from the University of Florida's election lab. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A popular fast food item is back after an E. coli outbreak.
McDonald's says Quarter Pounders will be back on the menu, but will not contain slivered onions from a Taylor Farms facility in Colorado Springs. The produce company is the supplier of fresh onions used by hundreds of restaurants involved in the E. coli outbreak that sickened at least 75 people in 13 states. An analysis by the FDA determined those uncooked onions are likely the source of contamination. McDonald's says testing has ruled out beef patties as the source.
Fox's Kathleen Maloney. North Korean troops have arrived in Russia's Kursk border region to help fight an incursion by Ukraine's military. America's listening to Fox News.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Coffee, keys, and extra 106.3. That's how I get to work and home.
Tuck, Rhino, and Los until 10. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. We welcome John King, Georgia's insurance commissioner, to the show. John, how are you, sir?
I am doing well. How about you?
Very well. We appreciate you taking the time for us. I was on your website, votejohnking.com, and you talk about being a retired Major General. Thank you for your service, sir. A retired and former police chief, and the first Hispanic elected to statewide office in Georgia. How do you see Hispanic voters and black voters shaping up for Georgia? Because we are seeing an incredible shift toward Donald Trump and toward Republicans, and you're seeing the Kamala Harris campaign melt down over this very thing.
I think the message has been clear. It hasn't been pandering. I think, Hispanics are very tired of being pandered, and I am assuming also that black voters are also been tired of the promises that have never been, that never been acknowledged or taken for granted. I mean, those voters have been absolutely taken for granted, and I think, especially Hispanics, we come from countries where politics is the lies and the deception is quite outstanding, and I think the Democrats are catching up to Latin American politicians. And so the message is clear. Mr. Trump has been very clear. It's about the opportunity for the American dream to be realized, and I think that message is resounding. People want to raise their families with the products of their own labor. They don't want handouts from the government.
John King joining us here on the Morning Extra. He's our insurance and safety fire commissioner here in the state of Georgia. And we had Helene come through. Brian Kemp's done a great job being in the areas that we've needed him to be in. And Donald Trump has come down and helped a lot, too. Talk about the response from Donald Trump and Brian Kemp and why it's important to have state leaders like that. And, of course, a federal leader in Donald Trump helping bring relief to people.
It's been incredible. First of all, President Trump has been to Georgia several times. He's getting ready to come back today. And we're very excited the fact that he continues coming to the state because there's an incredible need. He actually was able to raise $5 million from donors to bring directly to people in need. And I'm just thoroughly impressed. He didn't just come in to get the photo op. He came to talk to people in need, to look them in the eye and said, "You're not alone." And he is, backed, everything that we've done. Governor Brian Kemp has been outstanding. He's given clear guidance. He's unified all the parts of the state government. And go into these communities and spend time after time, come and visit the smallest communities to the largest communities, and again, reinforce that message. You're not alone. And Georgians are incredibly resilient. And, and they're not looking at the government for every solution for all the problems. But when something like this happens, we all have to roll our sleeves up and stay there to the very end.
Georgia Commissioner of Insurance John King is our guest on the Morning Extra, and I want to ask you and follow up on that, sir, because for those in South Georgia who've been affected by these storms, it really is a double-edged sword because you're looking for help from your insurance company, and typically that's when the scammers come in. How challenging has that been to let people know in South Georgia, hey, be careful who you're working with here, and let's make sure we're getting the money that you're owed, but let's be careful?
Thank you for bringing that up because this is something that affects us after every storm. And our team deploys. Many of our employees are in those local communities. And our team deploys is out there working with local law enforcement, working with the district attorney's office, and going into the areas. First of all, we've established several claims villages where we bring insurance companies to the affected areas to make it easy for people to start their claims. Then we go into those areas that have been affected and going and looking for those scammers and urging people, don't sign any contracts unless you absolutely know who you're dealing with and you have spoken to your insurance company. Only do those necessary repairs to keep any further damage from occurring. But don't. And I know this is contrary to Americans. We see damage, we see, a mess. We want to start cleaning up right away. And I'm urging people, just be a little patient. Only do the necessary repairs to keep, any further damage, but talk to your insurance company. And if that insurance company doesn't respond, call our agency immediately. That's our job. We are the advocate for the consumer.
John King, insurance commissioner here in the state of Georgia, on the Morning Xtra, Tug, Rhino, and Los. John, the one thing that I've not seen in the state of Georgia that I have seen out of the federal government is failure. The FEMA response to this disaster that was Helene, and you're seeing it from North Carolina to Georgia and all states all around, and I'm not seeing these failures with the state of Georgia. Why is it that our state can get it right and FEMA, with all their resources, just can't?
Well, first of all, the clear guidance. First of all, Governor Kemp, started the emergency declaration before the storm arrived. That gives clear guidance to all the departments to start mobilizing. And we rehearse our actions before the storms. We work very well inside the Georgia Emergency Management System. We all have portions of that task. And first of all, we're serving our citizens of our state. We cannot afford to fail them. And that's why we run for office, because we're accountable. And second of all, FEMA, they have a role in this. But what I've been very disappointing is that the promises that made to local communities, telling them that they're going to be 100% reimbursed, knowing that they don't have the money in those accounts because they've spent much of that money already on doing the migrant camps. And so you're promising, communities, and these communities are making contracts. They're making recovery, decisions with the promise that the federal government is going to give them 100% reimbursement. There's communities in Georgia that are still waiting for reimbursement from last year's storms. And so what I urge, communities, only count the money that you have in your hand. Only count on the support, on the clear support that the state is giving you, because we're committed to that. We can't hide. We can't go back to Washington. We're here for the duration.
Commissioner, there are a lot of emergencies that do happen. Donald Trump's been talking a lot about the EV mandate that the Harris administration has tried to put forward. We're dealing with the SNK battery plant, that there was a fire at one of the dumps. These have become a big problem with fires. We see them in New York. We see them in other cities with some of these EV bikes. How dangerous is it to move so fast into this arena of electric vehicles without doing the research on how they can affect us and our firefighters that are having to risk their lives to put out these fires?
We're working very closely with incredible talented firefighters across the state of Georgia. We're also working very closely with national standards on what is the best techniques. Before we lean too forward and start announcing, a state standard, we're pressing the national, scientific community. What is the best way to put out these fires? Because we have to equip, we have to train our local firefighters. EVs are an incredibly promising technology, but there's a lot of other technologies out there, hydrogen, all these things. And I think that's where I'm a little concerned that the federal government is basically tilted a lot of their support on EVs, in giving a disadvantage to other technologies that might be out there being developed. That's where the government has to be. I'm always concerned about the government, tipping their scale, their finger on the scales of not only development, and I think we ought to be a little cautious on it. Still feel that there's a promising opportunity, and we're not quite there yet.
Georgia Commissioner of Insurance John King is our guest on the Morning Extra. And sir, I will tell you, I've dealt with insurance companies in the past. I'm not a fan. So I will just tell you that when it comes to loopholes...
Neither am I. Don't worry. I'm not a fan either.
But that's the deal. It's like, how many of those times where it's almost as if these companies will create new loopholes within the law and then be able to get around things? How aggressive do you and your staff have to be at noticing what are the newest trends and then taking care of it, take care of the consumer?
We're incredibly, aggressive. We have held the insurance companies accountable and fined them. We've made them correct some of their strategies. And there was a recent company that decided that they were not going to renew your insurance if you had roofs that were a certain age. Well, that's contrary to state law. And we told them they had 24 hours to change that, or we were going to launch an investigation. And it found to be accurate, we were going to fine them millions and millions of dollars. So my mandate is clear. I am elected by the citizens of the great state of Georgia to be their advocate. And so I don't work for insurance companies. And I think a lot of these insurance companies know that because I've held them accountable.
We're talking to John King. He's Georgia's insurance commissioner. I think when insurance companies are with their back against the wall, that's the only time they respond. But so many times government gets heavy-handed. How do you balance that? Because we want Georgia to be a great place for business, but we want some accountability at the same time. How do you balance that out, sir?
I know primarily I am the advocate for the consumer, but I can't wreck the industry in the process, because if I, like you say, if I play a very heavy-handed approach to it, these companies will leave the state. And that's how, that's when, and they've left other states, they've overdone it. There's some very progressive states that have not worked with insurance carriers. We have a mutual respect. They know that I'm going to enforce the rules, but I also want them to come and stay in the state of Georgia and offer quality products that drives the cost of insurance lower. And so ultimately is that very careful balance, and I'm always reminded that more companies operating in our state is better for our consumers. So I have a very careful balance, and I have an incredible team that makes me make sure that we keep a balanced approach. And I go out in the community. I listen to consumers. I listen to the insurance companies. I'm not, I am very approachable, and our team is as well.
Commissioner, I know that you've been to some of these Trump rallies. I've been to some of them where you've attended as well. And last night at Madison Square Garden, I think, was one of the biggest rallies and biggest coming togethers of so many different people, a very diverse crowd. Have you seen this as well? I mean, I saw at Georgia State, it was a more diverse crowd, even in Duluth, more diverse crowd. Do you think a lot more people are coming over to the Hispanic groups, the black groups? I mean, why is this movement moving so quick?
First of all, it's a positive movement. It's a movement of hope. The music, the energy. I mean, you go to these rallies and people are happy. They're welcoming. And so there's a level of curiosity. I've noticed this in a lot of Hispanic attendees. They're like, they come to show up they're curious. They want to look and say, is this real? Is this, does this meet the hype? And they leave those events with a positive outlook, a system or a message of hope that things are going to get better tomorrow. We don't hear that message from the opposition, from the Democrats. The Democrats are it's negative, the end of the world. If you don't believe in us, you're racist, you're a fascist. All these things. That's not a message of hope. And so I'm proud of President Trump. He brings a lot of energy, in common sense, and that is what I think you hear Governor Kemp, you hear myself. This is common sense, and there's hope for the future.
John King is our guest, the Georgia Commissioner of Insurance. And to follow up on that, the Suffolk USA Today poll last week had Donald Trump leading Hispanic Americans 49-38 when it came to his competition with Kamala Harris. And I think one of the areas that they've completely missed is that Hispanic people really enjoy community and enjoy family. And that is part of what they're being given when it comes to these Trump rallies and these organizations, rather than what the Democrats are offering, which is let's break everybody down into boxes and you are all in your own individual boxes. The idea of community, I think, is very much resonating with the Hispanic community here in this country.
Oh, it's also the idea that we want to honor your hard work and let you keep more of the money that you earn, not what the government is willing to give you a handout. There's a saying, in Mexico where I grew up, is anytime you get something from the government, you're giving up something. You're giving up a little bit of freedom. You're giving up a little bit of your soul in the process. And Donald Trump was saying, we want to honor you. You're welcome to work, to raise a family, to be secure in your community, to not be victimized. The disaster on the border, I tell you, these Venezuelan prison gang folks that are coming into these communities, the first people who they are victimizing is Latinos. I mean, Latinos have been suffering under this immigration disaster that we've had, probably in greater numbers, probably many of them underreported, by the way.
John King is our guest. He's Georgia's insurance commissioner on the Morning Extra. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. They tell us Georgia's a swing state, Mr. King. I don't know that I believe it. How do you see this thing shaking out in the state of Georgia for Donald Trump?
I'm not buying that as well. I think Georgia is a red state. We have the urban and rural sometimes divide, and it's the fight for the suburbs and the fight for a positive future for our country and for our state. Luckily, we have strong Republican under the leadership of Brian Kemp that's kept this state out of the craziness that the rest of the country has been suffering under. But we have a positive outlook, and I think that Georgia's going to be red for a very long time.
I feel very confident after SB 202 and 189 and some of the election integrity acts that we've put through. I felt really good about what the state election board, the ideas and the rules that they want to put forward, counting ballots and all that. People are still a little nervous that we can't trust the elections. I expect that Donald Trump would win the way that Governor Kemp destroyed Stacey Abrams, but what do you tell people who still don't feel safe about everything? I want to watch polls. I want to see those things. Democrats are fighting just common sense rules, though.
I think that's why, I think Democrats, have been a little bit shocked at the wave of early votes in the Republican Party. And I think we need to encourage, don't wait to the last day, to November 5th, if you can. Vote when it's convenient, vote early. Bank that vote. Don't wait for the traffic jam. Don't wait for bad weather on election day. And so that's what we're encouraging. And those numbers, I think, are showing how communities make it a party. Get the van out, or go vote, and listen. Make it so dramatically high that Republicans can carry the day and not, and bank that vote. That's how we're going to win, by encouraging people. And once people vote early, you can track your vote. You have time. You don't have to wait till the last moment. So that's my message to people.
John, thank you so much.
Where it's so high that you can't cheat.
Too big to rig. Yeah. I got you.
Come pick up Tug. He hasn't done it yet. We keep giving him a hard time.
Everybody else except for Tug.
Everybody except me. My wife went last night. I promised to get it done. I've never missed a day, Commissioner King, so I don't expect I will this time either. But I am running behind. I'll admit that. We appreciate your time this morning, though, sir. Thank you so much for what you do for our fair state.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you and your audience.
Yes, sir. God bless you. This is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. 8 days.
I hope
from
he
the
puts
election.
you on a list.
Yeah,
dude, I'm
throw him on the list.
I'm
sir.
definitely on a list.
Like John King's just writing down Tug Coward,
Christian. I'm on many lists.
He's like, send him all the text messages.
Yeah. I hope he shows up in his Major General uniform and give you some right
orders.
out the door.
Look, I would pop 2 if he did.
Let's go.
8 days from the election, and Trump is surging, and the fact that he is invading blue cities and states is something that I have been waiting to see for quite some time. It is unbelievable to see what's going on, and I think this is going to carry us through. I feel good about it. I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to trying to convince you otherwise. Play like you're down by a point, no doubt. We'll talk about that next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Hey, it's Flounder, and The Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
You don't accidentally misplace money for Ukraine. You don't accidentally release billions to Iran right before they start funding wars. Trump is fighting against the people who have the ability to manipulate everything we see and hear. If you're still supporting Trump amidst one of the greatest indoctrinations in history, congratulations, you're smarter than they expected.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Atlanta, it's front office lows. Let's talk about Howard Brothers and steel blowers. Don't be like Tug, okay? Like you procrastinate, you hold off on things. You know what happens at this time of year? Your yard looks bad, okay? You've seen it. All the leaves are coming down. Yesterday was round 2 of leaves for me with me and my steel blower. That is how I was able to make that backyard look back to normal again. That is what you're able to do when you go over to Howard Brothers. You go into Howard Brothers and you say, here's what I'm looking to do. Whether you're a professional or whether you're just a homeowner and you're looking for the power of steel, whether it's a backpipe blower for some of the bigger jobs that are out there, or it's just one of the smaller blowers. Either way, they will hook you up with professional equipment that is from steel. Find your next steel product at Howard Brothers. Their friendly team will help you out, and also they'll help you and explain how to maintain your product so you get years of use out of it. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with steel and with Howard Brothers.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, The Marketing Madmen. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Madmen every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
Hey, Georgia neighbors, it's time to expect more from your Medicare Advantage. Discover Sonder Health's custom plans tailored just for Georgians. Saunders offers unique benefits, including special plans for those living with chronic conditions. Some plans even come with grocery or gas benefits to support your overall well-being. Sonder Health makes it easy to get the coverage you need. See for yourself what today's Medicare Advantage can do for you. Visit SonderHealthPlans.com, a healthier state of life. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO and PPO with Medicare contracts. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
Our favorite reason to choose Diamonds Direct over any other jeweler? Free service for life with no fine print. That's right. When you buy your engagement ring or any piece of jewelry at Diamonds Direct, you will never have to pay a dime in the future for sizing, cleaning, or routine maintenance. Even if she accidentally knocks out a side accent diamond, Diamonds Direct will replace it free. Now, other stores claim to offer warranties, but the catch is that they won't honor it unless you bring your ring in for regular inspections. But at Diamonds Direct, inspections are never required. There's no gotcha clause. No fine print, no looking for ways to void the warranty. Plain and simple, at Diamonds Direct, we stand behind what we sell, and we're committed to service it at no charge for life, period. It's all part of our commitment to provide you with the ultimate in value and total confidence before, during, and long after your purchase. Diamonds Direct, the jeweler you can trust with a no questions asked 100% free lifetime warranty with no strings attached. Come see us to learn more. Proud to call ATL home. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
Georgia, are you ready to stand up for our values and our future? The Georgia Republican Party is committed to protecting our families, our freedoms, and our way of life. From supporting law enforcement to defending our constitutional rights, we are fighting for you every day. Join us in advocating for lower taxes, better schools, stronger communities, and together we can ensure that Georgia remains the land of opportunity for all. In the upcoming 2024 and 25 elections, we're dedicated to informing, educating, attracting, and inviting all Georgians to vote Republican at every level, state, local, and federal. Get involved. Visit our website at gagop.org to learn how you can support our local candidates and initiatives. Let's make our voices heard, because in Georgia, we believe in hard work, family values, and the American dream. Stand with us, the Georgia Republican Party. Stand for Georgia. Learn more by visiting gagop.org.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 28th. 3 people in Albany were killed and the driver of a car was seriously injured when the vehicle went over a set of railroad tracks at a high speed, became airborne, flipped, and crashed. The driver was found in the driver's seat while 3 passengers were ejected from the car and pronounced dead at the scene. Georgia State Patrol reported that the driver was traveling at 75 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone when officers attempted to pull the car over. Officers also found loaded guns in the vehicle, which may be linked to the Albany State University shooting. Any updates on that case will come from the GBI. President Trump will be in Atlanta today for a rally at McCamish Pavilion on the Georgia Tech campus following an electrifying event last night at New York's Madison Square Garden. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz will also be in Georgia this week with stops in Savannah and Columbus scheduled for Tuesday. The Atlanta Falcons held on late to defeat their division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-26. Falcons QB Kirk Cousins threw for 276 yards and 4 touchdowns in the victory. With the win, the Falcons took control of the NFC South and now hold a 5-3 record. With your headlines, Scott Rhino, Extra 106.3.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Xtra. 8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com, one of the few second-generation locally owned HVAC companies in Atlanta. A bunch of HVAC companies in town, but this is one of the very, very few that have not been bought out. So when you need good service, maintenance agreements, or a new system altogether, call Chuck and his team at Central Heating and Air Conditioning. So we are all glued to the TV last night, or glued to your phone, or glued to X, which is where I watched most of the rally last night at Madison Square Garden. and Rhino and I had gone down to the one at Gas South Arena, which was amazing. I mean, it was probably the biggest list of names that had been
You picked a good one for your first.
Yeah. But then it gets amplified. They take it up a notch when they go to Madison Square Garden, which you would expect. It's the number 1 media market in the world. It's a legendary venue, and Donald Trump delivers again.
I mean, you jumped up on the chair, took your shirt off, and had Trump 2024 on.
Like all the football players this weekend.
Helicopter guy.
Yeah.
I could only imagine what you would have done at Madison Square Garden. But you're right. I think you're starting to see more and more people come out. Dr. Phil now is going to get trashed in the media for coming out and talking. But these people are feeling more and more secure with the fact that Donald Trump is going to do what's right for the American people and focusing on every single person in that audience. Despite what a comedian says or anybody else, the entire message there was, we are going to do whatever we can to make America prosperous again, America free again, and America great again. And I thought it was an amazing rally yesterday at Madison Square Garden.
So, internet pundit Benny Johnson, he had some really good information. Because remember, we're very critical when we make fun of Kamala Harris rallies where it tends to be people that are bussed in. It tends to be people that are paid to show up to all of these rallies. It's
and
just
been to many of them.
It's part of it. Like, I think on average they've been to 3. It's like, here you go. You have to go to this rally again. So Benny Johnson actually had the GPS numbers on this appearance over at Madison Square Garden. 98,678 mobile devices in the vicinity. 20,000 in the venue. Mm-hmm. The rest were remaining outside, and 47% of the attendees were first timers.
I would have been one of those.
Yeah,
I'd never been to a rally.
That's the epitome of you're turning out new people who have never taken an interest in this, and yet they're showing up. Where only 20,000 could get in the building, you're talking about having 70,000 people outside listening to this stuff.
Yeah, this happens all the time with big events. In front of Madison Square Garden, when I couldn't get tickets to go to a big Ranger playoff game, we stood outside and we cheered on the big screens they had outside of Madison Square Garden. So I expected and wrote yesterday while we were putting all our stories together, I expect people to stand outside and continue to wait, and they did. And I was surprised as much as everybody else. But I think people in New York, I've said it from the beginning, they're tired of the AOC telling Amazon, nope, you can't come here and create 25,000 jobs. We don't want it here. We are getting getting tired in New York, or they are getting tired in New York, of this Democrat overreach and the bureaucracy that they see every single day. So I was glad to see it, because there had to be at least 95,000 people total, and there were at least, I mean, I just couldn't believe seeing those streets like that. It was amazing, and boy, it just gives me hope.
I was so encouraged when Donald Trump talks about tax breaks for caregivers and families taking care of elderly parents, because that is a large number of Americans. My wife's sister, my sister-in-law Peeps, she takes care of her mother and father, my wife's mother and father. And she works really, really hard. And it is a delicate balancing act when you're tending to your adult parents when they're getting older. And that's something that I think is so encouraging to families across the country. You just put your finger on the pulse of so many people that are running into this. And you could say the same thing with grandparents raising grandchildren. There's just so many examples of this. And Donald Trump being able to zero in on that is why I think he is doing such a good job with such a broad swath of people, because this goes over any sort of racial bounds, gender bound. This touches Americans.
Yeah, I mean, talking about no tax on Social Security helps all of those people right now. It's something that will help right away. And that's what the kind of answers that we want. So, of course, when the Democrats try to throw down, he's going to get rid of Social Security. No, guys, he's not. He's actually going to figure out a way to not tax it. He's going to figure out a way not to tax tips, so that when these working people are working hard, they're bringing more money home. And he's done that. That's what he has a record of doing for everyone. That's why when you look back and he says, how were you 4 years ago? You look back and go, I was bringing more money home. My taxes were lower. I was getting more child tax credits. Obviously, we weren't getting destroyed by the southern border. These things people are starting to remember.
I think my hope for the next administration, and I'm planning on it being a Trump one, I can't wait to see negative inflation if we can get to that point. Because it's not just about here's what our wages are and here's the cost of things. It's how do we get things back in order where just 3.5 years ago, goods and services were not 20 and 30% higher. That is such a monstrous thing that has gone on. I think that's going to be, if we still had exit polling, and we don't because of all the mail-in ballots and all the early voting and everything else. I think that's what you're going to hear from a lot of people, is that they were not excited about Kamala Harris, and they were not excited about this economy because the cost of goods and services is so much higher than it used to be.
But they'll tell you that it's worth the sacrifice. We had it from MSNBC last week on the show when they talked about, yes, I know things aren't great. And then they went, well, I mean, things are better. It's mainly a feel. You feel like it's bad. It's not really bad. They tell you that. But then they follow it up with, and that's just a little price for you to pay, because they're at a bubble. They're making money that most people don't. They don't have to deal with it. It's a little price that they're willing for you to pay to not have Donald Trump in office. That's the closing message for Kamala Harris and all the Democrats and the mainstream media.
Not Donald Trump, Hitler.
Yes, right.
Hitler.
Yes.
The most dangerous human in the world is over at Madison Square Garden right now. You remember 4 years ago when he held everybody hostage and turned the military on people? It's coming again. We can't go back. That's the ridiculous part. They have nothing left.
Turn the page.
Turn the page. Everybody repeat after me. Turn the page. They are at their last, this is it. This is their last stand. They're throwing everything they can, hate-wise, division-wise, to create chaos, because that's who they are. They're the ones that are creating chaos. They're the ones that are going into schools and creating that feeling that Jews can't get into classes. They're the ones that are taking the streets, breaking windows. That's who they are. They continue to be. And now they're back to Dark Harris, Dark Kamala, who is just going to be angry. There's no joy left.
It's a short-sighted moment when you will have the Democrats win an election based on, we're going to do mail-in ballots, we're going to have drop boxes, and we're going to let you vote for a month. Well, what happens when now the rabbit has the gun? And we're the ones that are making sure to turn out in record numbers across the entirety of the nation. They're going to be so upset when they lose the popular vote and they get smoked in the Electoral College. And they'll be sitting back saying, why did we let the Republicans vote for a month leading up to November 5th?
Yeah.
That'll be their next thing. They're going to go, oh my God, we got to restrict this.
Yeah.
We got to fix this. You look what they did. They showed up, and then they'll start they were bringing them all out of the nursing homes. Damn right we were. I called up. I was like, Maud, Jeff, let's go.
Do y'all need a lift?
Y'all need a lift?
I'll come give you a ride.
Let's go vote red. Here we go.
Absolutely, man. That's the thing that they always seem to do.
Ethel were ready to kick it. Come on.
Don't look, Ethel. It was too late.
Ethel, make sure you press that button.
Yeah, that's right.
Press it.
No, I love it. I think it's terrific, and you're right. They will have to try to curtail this. They'll try to curb this as like they do everything. Anything else that's successful, whether it is policies or activities like voting, they have to restrict it because they know freedom always benefits the American people. And when they have the freedom to choose, they choose wisely. That's why you try to restrict their ability to choose. And as a matter of fact, we talked about the celebration of Twitter being bought, now called X, on the 26th. So Saturday was the 2-year anniversary of that. You already had Facebook taking down parts of Donald Trump's speech from Madison Square Garden after it had gotten 150,000 views or something like that. Then they start tearing it down, taking it down, and I'm sure for some community note reason, or some complaint that was given, or some copyright something, they will come up with any excuse that they can. But that's why we brought up the whole Twitter thing, why it's so important, because that type of media, they would love to silence you again.
Well, here's why. You had people in Madison Square Garden holding up the Israeli flag. You had Jewish men.
With no fear.
Yeah, with no fear. Jewish men wearing their everything they needed to wear, their yarmulkes, their support of Israel right there, and they felt free to do it. And they want to call that a Nazi rally. In reality, when you look at news clips, you'll see Jews being kept out of schools by Democrats. You'll see Democrats sitting in Congress calling for the genocide of Jews, holding up signs that say "March Jews from the river to the sea," because that's what that means. You have 8 people elected in the Democrat Party as progressives that have called for the genocide of Jews. They don't want you to see who the real Nazis are. The real Nazis are the ones telling you they want to take your guns. They want to tell you where to wear your mask and when. They want to fire you if you don't take their vaccines. That's who the real Nazis are.
Easily. And they will continue to do this as long as they are allowed to. And that's why it's so important that Donald Trump is elected, because he, along with the people that he surrounded himself with, are advocates for freedom. RFK, medical freedom. Elon Musk, freedom of speech. Tulsi Gabbard, she's talking about our military and the importance to strengthen it so that we can defend our borders, so we can defend our country and our interests abroad. The military will keep us free. All 3 of them are talking about specific freedoms that are important to them.
Potentially. This is the government we've all been hoping for about the past 50 years.
Yep.
Potentially. That is, for all the lefties out there that are, I'm so upset about Donald Trump. This is the government that you don't deserve, but we're going to give you.
Yes.
You can thank us later. Yeah, right?
100%.
Yeah, that's right. You can thank us later. The deep state explained. Trump's going to lay it down for you, as he did on the Joe Rogan podcast. We'll play that for you next on the Morning Extra at Extra 106.3. Tug, Rhino, and Los until 10. Make sure you support the advertisers that you hear on this station, specifically during the morning show and the afternoon show. They share your values. Don't buy anything that you don't need, but when the need arises, shop with people that share your values. This is Extra 106.3.
Fan and Extra 106.3 are proud to salute all those who've served our great nation at our 2024 Veterans Day Golf Classic. Friday, November 8th at Heritage Golf Links. Join all your favorite fan and Extra personalities for a day of golf, prizes, and fun, all benefiting our friends at the Warrior Alliance. Special thanks to Georgia Power, Henri's Bakery, Kia Mall of Georgia, Kroger, Hennessy Automotive Group, Tito's Handmade Vodka, Realtree, First Watch, Fire Safety and Protection, and Body Armor Sports Drink.
There is a change in the weather right now that I am not a great fan of. My wife loves it. A lot of people love it. I'm the unicorn. I should have been born on the equator.
Hold on, unicorns are like special and beautiful.
Yes,
I am. The fact that you don't like the fall in this is something different. You're like the sloth.
That's right. I should have been born on the equator. I say it all the time. I do not like this changing of the weather. I live through it, and I'll complain the entire time. But you don't have to. You don't have to be like me. You can keep your house warm when it's cold outside and cool when it's hot outside with central heating and air conditioning. They have Carrier products that come with incredible warranties that keep you cool on the coolest or the coldest days and warm on the hot or cool on the hottest days. Did I say that backwards? You know what I mean. With advanced cooling technology and heating technology, you'll be refreshed in your home no matter what the temperature is outside. And right now you can save up to $2,000 on a new Carrier system. That's right, $2,000 off to ensure that you're cool in the summer and you're warm in the winter as we head that way. And their new Carrier systems come with excellent extended warranty. That way you have added peace of mind.
I kind of feel like there should be a Jamaican steel pan that's being played while you do this.
I
like
do
how
love them.
warm and comfortable that your home's going to be.
That's right. I would need palm trees and maybe just some sound effects of flowing water.
It's going to be like 20 degrees outside, and he's like, turn it up. Let's go. Right. It feels warm. Thank you.
I'm going to listen to Toots of the Maytals or Bob Marley or somebody like, just somebody good. That way it sets the mood, even in the winter. But call Central Heating and Air Conditioning. They pride themselves on better service through knowledge. Turn to your Atlanta Carrier expert, 770-GET-HEAT or centralheat.com.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Hey, Georgia neighbors, it's time to expect more from your Medicare Advantage. Discover Sonder Health's custom plans tailored just for Georgians. Saunders offers unique benefits, including special plans for those living with chronic conditions. Some plans even come with grocery or gas benefits to support your overall well-being. Sonder Health makes it easy to get the coverage you need. See for yourself what today's Medicare Advantage can do for you. Visit SonderHealthPlans.com, a healthier state of life. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO and PPO with Medicare contracts. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
You may know that ATL Turf Co. has become a leader in artificial grass design and installation services, but you may not know that ATL Turf Co. is a large artificial grass distributor. We only sell U.S.-made, premium name brand turf at factory direct pricing below wholesale. And now we're open to the public with large inventories of lawn and landscape, putting green, athletic, and pet turf on sale. Plus, all remnants are on sale for only $1 per square foot, direct from Dalton to our warehouse in Kennesaw. Visit atlturfco.com to learn more. atlturfco.com.
As the longest continually operating franchise in Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves have plenty of history to share with fans. Tours of Truist Park are offered year-round, and take guests behind the scenes to areas normally off limits during games. With artifacts and exhibits distributed throughout the ballpark, it's a definite must for any Braves or baseball fan. Visit Braves.com/tours to purchase your tickets today. And did you know that along with exclusive tours around the ballpark, you can also host a private event at Truist Park? Corporate meetings, trade shows, team building events, holiday parties, rehearsal dinners, you name it. Truist Park can host it. Their dedicated staff is sure to bring your vision to life. Whether you're looking for a large space or something more intimate for your next event, there's a venue to accommodate your needs. Visit Braves.com/events to see more details. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves country.
Love having a true conservative news and talk station in Atlanta? Then spread the word. Tell your family and friends to download the Extra 106.3 app and stream the Morning Extra, The Kimmer Show, and Atlanta's biggest lineup of conservative voices.
Me, you, and everybody else got up early Saturday morning and watched the Joe Rogan Experience with Donald Trump. Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. There were so many great discussion points, but maybe none better than Donald Trump breaking down the deep state.
Yeah, he brought up when he talked about defeating, ISIS and talking about taking out, some of the main terrorists within the Middle East, and he's going to tell this story. His generals in Washington told him it was going to take 5 years. And this is where he figured out how the deep state works. He's like, hold on a second. He bypassed all of them, went to his generals on the ground, and they were like, we can get rid of this thing in weeks. And he recognized how when the generals tell you it's going to be 5 years, it's because the military-industrial complex is going to make money for 5 years when something could be taken care of weeks. Take a listen to how he explained it.
And I'm telling you, Joe, there's always a light. There's not a little pin, and all of a sudden, psh, and you hear it, blah, blah, perfect landing like glass. That's how good. I mean, these guys, between the equipment and it's genius. It's pure. It was so dark, you couldn't see a thing. There was no runway. You wouldn't know where the hell you are. You're in the middle of a desert. And then I got out of the plane. I said, thank you, Captain. That's a great job. And then I got out of the plane, and I'm going down, and I see a general and another general, and I see a staff sergeant, a drill sergeant, and various guys, all central casting. Central casting. They said, sir, would you like to rest? I said, I don't want to rest. I want to figure out what the hell are we doing with ISIS. I'm hearing we can't, it's going to take years. No, sir, we can do it very quickly, sir. And anyway, we go into the room. Biden would have taken a nap for 4 days and then left without a meeting. So we go into the room, and they have these guys. I say, how long can you do it? How long? We can do it in a couple of weeks, sir. I said, wait a minute. They told me 5 years. We can do it in, I don't know, he gave me a number like in no time. I said, why haven't you done it? Because the orders came in from Washington, sir, and they would come here and tell us what to do. Don't you challenge us? We're not allowed to do that, sir. That's not the military way. They tell us what to do, and we have to respect them.
So do you think that it was incompetence why they didn't go after ISIS?
I think it's a bad system. When Mattis goes there or when Milley goes there who's stupid, and they tell these guys that are actually smart what to do, and the guys that are smart are saying, we don't like what they're doing, but they're not allowed to sort of counteract. Plus, the guys that went there are arrogant. They're arrogant fools. They're like stupid fools. The way they pulled out of, as an example, the way they pulled out of Afghanistan with the people falling off the planes.
It's a disgrace.
It was worse than Vietnam with the helicopters falling. It was so bad. There was no reason for it.
The difference in theater generals who told him we can get rid of this ISIS and their caliphate, we can get rid of it within weeks, versus the generals in Washington that told him it's going to be 5 years, sir, and they're going to manage it. He basically ended up bringing up that every American president gets boxed in by the military-industrial complex, the generals that recognize we have to take care of the companies that are taking care of us. So even though we can get something done within weeks, you're always told it's years. That way they can make a whole bunch of money.
I've served in the United States Navy, and I can tell you the difference between a theater general or an admiral, like the 2-star admiral that I work for at Commander Carrier Group 6, and then the people that put on the uniform and are nothing more than politicians. There is a stark difference. And when you see those people at the Pentagon just talking about things and me, and I'm no military expert. I served, but I'm no expert by any means. But when I can see through it, I can guarantee you that the people like Rear Admiral Johnson that I worked for could see through it. This was a man of wisdom. This was a man that could tell you what was happening in the region that we were serving in at any moment, at any time. He could go back and tell you what was happening in biblical times, up until Vietnam, and all the way through the point where he retired about 10 years ago. I always kept up with him because I had such respect for him. Like Donald Trump said, when it comes to people like Milley and the people that are right now, the people are in office right now that are running our military, I have zero respect for them because I know they're nothing more than politicians. They're not military members anymore.
You either take the uniform seriously or you put a dog mask on. And that's what we see at the top of our brass, these political generals that we see, or they put a dress on and they virtue signal, and then they go in and say, hey, this is how we need to fundamentally change the military. We need to be able to wear dresses if we want. No, we're supposed to be one team. Here's the uniform. Let's go. This is the way it's supposed to work. But we've become so attacked by this virtue signal that we've allowed it at the top, and it's made us look weak. That's what's happening in our military right now. He's 100% right.
Consider that we are going to generals that have not been in real power or served in real capacity for the better part of 4, 5, 6 years. And yet, this is who the news media goes to in order to get quotes about what Donald Trump was like when he was in office. These people, these generals, these politicians look at a president as being very temporary. they're the ones that are forever. They're the ones that have the 20 or 30-year career, maybe 40 years in government. We're the ones who are making the calls. The president's just a figurehead. He's just here for the time being, and in 4 or 8 years, he'll move on. That is why they treat them in the way that they do. That's why I am so incredibly proud that when you hear about what Donald Trump is doing this time around, he's essentially eliminating any deep state authorization and access to his campaign. He's basically made it a point. Y'all are the enemy. I'm going to win, and then you don't get access to my administration.
And I'm going to bring in other people that despise you equally.
And by the way, there are also former Democrats.
Yeah,
that know how bad you are.
Right, and so bad they know you're so bad that they've converted. They've changed. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard physically became a Republican last week.
They are recognizing what the danger is. The danger is not the run-of-the-mill Democrat. The danger is the Democrat who's in the deep state.
And the Republicans, too, because there's plenty of those. Yeah, just plenty of those career politician deep state fools.
Kyrsten Sinema is walking slowly away from the rhetoric of the progressives. So is Joe Manchin and a lot of others. When you start to look down ballot races and you start to see Democrats and the way they're distancing themselves, both from Joe Biden and now Kamala Harris, that's when you realize there's a problem at the head of this party. And they continue to look at the weaponization against the American people. Democrats don't even want to be stuck on that side anymore.
But isn't it interesting to y'all that Democrat voters, they see, fighting against Trump as rage against the machine. They think they're taking down the machine when they don't even they're
the machine.
They are the machine. They don't even recognize that their party is the machine.
Correct.
Like, if you're raging against the machine, as I've said a million times, and now you're starting to see other people say, if you want to be countercultural, you're voting for Donald Trump. Vivek Ramaswamy brought it up. So many people brought it up. And it's so clear to me. I don't know how people miss it.
Yeah, I don't know either. Because they sat out there and they talk about not funding Israel, not funding wars, not continuing to do it. And then they go, hey, Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney came to our side. That's the ridiculous part about the Democrat sheep that continue. You're smarter than that. How are you not seeing through all of this? How are you not seeing that our entire bill that was supposed to be a bill about protecting us from people who are trafficking our kids across the border, bringing fentanyl across the border, the first 90 pages of the bill are all about giving money to fund wars. The others are to give money to Taiwan to fund a war and continuing war-like efforts, and they bring in warmongers. They are blind because they have a media that is complicit in telling them lies.
I can only liken this to my wife, the hardcore Democrat. In July, when she's asking me, hey, what's all going on here? And we had this discussion on the way over to my in-laws' home. And I was like, here's what they're doing. They're trying to get rid of Joe Biden. Here's how they're going to do it. And then within a week, that all came to fruition. That Sunday morning, I got up and was like, they got rid of him. Here's how they did it. And she was paying attention to this. And I told her, whoever they install will not have gotten any votes. This is how it's going to be. There's some Democrats that have actually woken up, Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that have actually woken up and gone, this is no longer a party where democracy matters no matter what they tell you.
No matter how loud they shout it. And the other part of that is that's the reason that she's having to go to places that she would never need to go, like The View and Howard Stern, and talk to her actual voters because many of them are waking up.
She was in a barber shop yesterday giving you some of the most cringe moments. Those are not places she's supposed to be in because those are votes she's already supposed to have locked
Secured.
in.
Yeah, no doubt. When we come back after a Neil Bortz report and a Fox News update, the man who represents Georgia 8, Austin Scott, joins us next on the Morning Extra. Tug, Rhino, and Los. We're on the air until 10. Thank you for being here.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
If by some chance Kamala Harris does not become President of the United States, it certainly won't be because the mainstream media didn't do everything in their power to make sure she got elected. Over 90% of the people that work for the major networks will vote Democrat. They always do. And in their work days now, they make decisions designed to enhance Kamala Harris and make Donald Trump look like a warthog. Now, I have a perfect example for you. CBS. A week ago, CBS 60 Minutes did a profile of Kamala Harris. And during the editing of that profile, I saw one of the most egregious examples of intentional dishonesty and bias. Here's how it worked. The narrator asked Kamala Harris, well, it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. Her response was this. Listen to the word salad. Well, the work we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of the many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. Did any of you understand that word salad? CBS knew it was word salad. So they said, well, when we put this on the air, we can't let her look that bad. Now, that first response from the hyena was heard in a promo for that 60 Minutes episode. But when that episode actually aired, here is how it sounded. Well, it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. And she says, we're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end. That was not the answer she gave during that promo. What happened? Did CBS just plug in another answer to another question to make her look good? Blatant dishonesty on the part of CBS. They are actively campaigning for Kamala Harris. And there you go. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Get ready for unfiltered conversations on The Janelle King Show, where we tackle the topics that you won't hear at your family gatherings, but they're absolutely crucial for a strong republic. Don't miss us live every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. But if you can't tune in, that's okay. You can catch new episodes every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. Join us for these discussions, and I can't wait to meet you there.
Have you thought about securing your hard-earned assets? Do you have concerns about the future? Protecting assets is crucial, and that's where Nelson Elder Care Law excels. As a family-owned and family-focused firm, we provide absolute assurance and peace of mind through our trademarked Absolute Protection Trust, tailored services in estate planning, probate administration, Medicaid crisis solutions, guardianship, and conservatorship. Our goal is to exceed your expectations and empower informed decisions. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com for asset protection and peace of mind.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
Kamala actually said that she agrees with Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney's foreign policy. These are the architects of the Iraq War.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely.
MAGA in Manhattan. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. Former President Trump held a campaign rally in his hometown, New York City, packing the venue nicknamed the world's most famous arena.
Welcome to the stage by Elon Musk, former First Lady Melania Trump, and a live performance by country star Lee Greenwood. Former President Trump took the stage before Full House at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night. He was greeted with thunderous applause and cheering, then reminded his supporters to get out and vote on Election Day, promising that a second Trump term would be, quote, America's new golden age.
We're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Get out. You're fired.
Former President Trump is kicking off the final full week before Election Day with a rally this evening in Georgia. At Madison Square Garden, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Vice President Harris campaigns in Michigan today, in Philadelphia for some events yesterday.
Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win.
At least 42 million early votes have been cast nationwide so far. It's confirmed that North Korean troops have started arriving at the front line of Russia's fight against Ukraine, seen in Russia's Kursk region on the border where Ukrainian troops have been carrying out raids. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte.
The deepening military cooperation between Russia and North Korea is a threat to both the Indo-Pacific and Euro-Atlantic security.
U.S. intelligence says around 3,000 North Korean troops have been sent. The United Nations says national pledges to cut greenhouse gas emissions would barely cut pollution by 2030, less than 3%, far short of the 43% goal to get the world on track for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. America's listening to Fox News.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Tired of all the negative media manipulation? Wake up feeling right with the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3, Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station.
Tug, Rhino, and Los on the Morning Extra. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the advertisers. Thank you for listening as long as you do. We could not, absolutely could not be here without you and without your 33 minutes of average time spent listening to Extra 106.3. We're grateful. We're appreciative.
I think we're tops in the city as far as TSL
number one
at this point.
Yeah, time spent listening, number one. I don't think it's close.
Yeah, I think we're beating everybody by at least 15, 16 minutes.
Yeah,
so
it's
thank y'all.
Most people spend about 7 to 8 minutes at a time listening to a radio station or watching a TV show.
And our audience is at 33.
33. It's unheard of. It's unbelievable. We even had people question it. They're like, this cannot be right.
And then the numbers kept showing up. We're like, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for hanging with us.
That's exactly right. So,
you guys rock.
Yes, absolutely. We're just so grateful for you. And
it's a great audience.
We owe you so much. And if you would like to be involved in the show that you support, 404-741-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms as well. Waiting on Austin Scott. He is the congressman that represents District 8, which is basically from Macon all the way down to the Florida line.
And I'm curious because every single time we've gotten a chance to talk to a member of Congress, so much of what has gone on is if they win the White House and, if they maintain their standing in the House and whether they can grab the Senate. I'm so curious now what it feels like a week out. Because so much of these things are looking very promising. Now, I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I'm just saying, I think as a member of Congress, things have to be looking pretty encouraging right now.
Yeah, I think, and he's got a race coming up too. I mean, his term ends in 2025, so he's going up against Darius Butler, who he went up against before and really destroyed him, and I think he'll see the same effect. So I don't know how he's focusing. I'm sure he's focused on his race and making sure that we could continue the good work. But I think that they're all looking right now, how do we strengthen the House? How do we bring in a few more seats to make sure that the majority is really strong? And obviously the Senate right now is going to be very important for Republicans to control. If we plan on having Donald Trump fix this country, we need to do it in these lower races. So it'll be interesting to talk to Congressman Scott about that as well.
No doubt about it. I mean, this is something that could really change America strongly moving forward. I mean, think about it. If he were to keep the House and then get this, I mean, he could have the entirety of the federal government and then make major moves.
We're very fortunate because when Barack Obama had all three branches of government, had basically, had everything lined out and had the House and Senate, and was installing his people that he was installing over with the Supreme Court, you had a scenario where it felt like there was nothing you could do. It just came down to, okay, we're going to put in Obamacare and y'all are just going to have to deal with it. This time around, Joe Biden and his group did not, in my opinion, get through significant enough legislation that we can't get rid of.
Yeah. Right.
When they had everything, they just did not do the same thing that Barack Obama did.
And we've got work to do, no doubt about it. Joined by Austin Scott, Congressman from Georgia's 8th District, as I mentioned earlier, from about Macon all the way down to the Florida line. Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning on Extra 106.3.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I heard what you said, and I agree with everything except for the spending. I mean, they spent $3 trillion when they had the House, the Senate, and the White House without a single Republican vote.
Yeah.
And I would ask people to just remember, they put that money straight into the agencies. They didn't even take it through the appropriations process, which is the way it's supposed to go. And you know, they talk about Republicans subverting democracy. That's absolutely what they did the 24 months when they had the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they did it with $3 trillion, and that's a lot of money.
Goodness.
That's 10% of the national debt. It'd be a good down payment on getting us out of the problems we've got financially.
And I think that's something that I know the three of us talk about on the show all the time, and glad that you brought it up, because that's one of the things that if Donald Trump is elected, that I'm hopeful that he is going to correct, right? He's going to be able to rein in the spending. You're bringing in people like Elon Musk, who is the king of cutting and making things more efficient. That's something that he has to do, I think, immediately, right out of the gate. Do you think he's going to be able to accomplish it?
Absolutely, and I think when you bring in someone like a Musk, you bring in these people who think outside of the box, and so you can't just continue to do the same things you've been doing and nip and cut around the edges and think that you're going to get the budget back in balance. We're running a $2.5 trillion deficit right now. We're not at war. We're technically not in a recession yet, although I think we're going. And we're not in a COVID emergency. And so they talk about Trump's deficit spending. Well, he did. But look what he was dealing with in COVID. That was something that nobody had ever had to deal with before. And just factually speaking, every one of the votes that passed under Donald Trump was bipartisan on the COVID measures and the spending measures. So he's the one that has actually been willing to work across party lines when they have done the exact opposite, and they blame Trump literally for the very things that they do.
Congressman Austin Scott joining us here on the Morning Extra. Let's talk about one that you tried to help rein back when you voted for the Fiscal Responsibility Act. That was something that, I kind of enjoyed, but we still pushed the debt limit, and we allowed the bill to raise that federal debt limit until January 2025. I assume we're going to start clawing that back if you do get the House and the Senate, but we did cap some of the defense spending. We did cut some of the IRS. What are some of the other things you'd like to claw back from that and continue to do to save American taxpayer dollars?
Sure. So first of all, let me say this. The one thing that I hated about that piece of legislation was the fact that the debt limit was date certain and not dollar certain. That's something we should never do again. The debt limit, and it's going to continue to go up over the next several years, but it should be based on a dollar, not based on a date, because when it's based on a date, then you don't have the timeline there, the hard stop, where you have to manage the tax dollars appropriately. I think the key to getting all of this stuff back is taking back the unspent money from the Inflation Reduction Act, what they call the Inflation Reduction Act, or the American Rescue Plan. And I can tell you, the subsidies for solar panels going on our farmland and in our forest lands, that if I could get one thing back, it would be to get every bit of that back that has not been spent and to cancel it going forward. It's not in the best interest of the environment to cut down our forests to put up solar panels. It's not in the best interest of the food supply in this country to take our food, the farms that we depend on for our food, and put them into solar panels. That's the one thing that just really irks me, I think, more than anything, is the subsidies going into solar panels when even the liberal environmentalists will tell you this is not the solution to any of the environmental problems.
Georgia Congressman Austin Scott is our guest on the Morning Extra, and I'm with you. The 2020 spending and 2021 spending, basically jumping us from the $5 trillion mark into the $7 trillion mark in government spending, obviously was catastrophic and caused so much inflation and everything that we're dealing with now. what is realistic? If we're looking to be back into the $5 trillion range and obviously getting our spending under control, what can we do considering that so much of our budget is tied up in things that we can't mess with in terms of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and everything else?
Well, the key to it is who you put in charge of the agencies. And so if you put somebody in charge of an agency, and I'm not saying that Elon Musk would go in to be in charge of an agency, but you have to put somebody with that mindset that is not simply going to do what we've always done, because what we've always done is put us in this position. And so I think that we can get better health care for less money. I would tell you, I had this argument in the Rules Committee the other day when the Democrats came and said, "Oh, you're cutting veterans care." The idea that the more you spend, the more you get, only exists in the government. It only exists in the government. Everybody else in society is out there trying to get more for the same dollars. And so I think if you can put some business owners, transformational business owners, in charge of the agencies, then you can get that. The other aspect of this is, how do you grow the economy? And so we talk about cutting spending a lot. I don't think we talk about growing the economy enough. The goal is to grow the economy while at the same time freezing spending. That's how you get control of the deficit.
Talking to Austin Scott, Congressman, Georgia's 8th District, on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3, Tug, Rhino, and Low. So I want to go back and talk about something you brought up, and that is cutting down trees for solar power and panels and just the eyesore that those are to begin with. But it's always such a pretend message that this is green energy. There's no such thing as green energy. If you look at the EVs, those things are being mined, like the minerals are being mined out of the ground, no different than. But Georgia, our state, we've kind of tethered ourselves to EV, and I'm not opposed to EV per se. But at the same time, I don't like the whole messaging, the pretend, the marketing that goes behind, oh, we're saving the environment and we're doing great for business in Georgia. It actually makes me very nervous about the failures of EV, the challenges of EV, and yet our state is in lockstep with that marketing brand. And I don't know if Georgia is going to be better for it in the end.
I will tell you, I think I'm a proponent for hybrids. I think hybrids are probably a much better solution than EV. It is, but you're right about the mining and where the critical minerals come from. It makes us more dependent on other countries because we can't mine and manufacture in this country anymore. That's one thing that Donald Trump, I think, will fix, is bringing those good, solid, blue-collar American jobs back to America. He understands that we don't want to be dependent on foreign sources for food, for fuel, but also for those critical minerals. And so if you create a scenario that puts subsidies into, even if it's a manufacturing, even if it's bringing jobs, put subsidies into creating jobs that make you dependent on foreign sources for the raw materials, that's a dangerous place to go. And I mean, Donald Trump sees the big picture. He sees the long-term picture, not just what it takes for that one snapshot and for that one headline.
Congressman Scott, I have a Ford Maverick, a hybrid. I love it. I hate the fact it was built in Mexico and then shipped here, but we'll work on that next. You've been on the Committee of Agriculture. One of the things that I'm really afraid of, especially when it comes to Kamala Harris, if she were to actually win, is her idea about the unrealized capital gains, which I see as a way to take farmland from our farmers. And then on top of that, the way that they continue to restrict. I like the Make America Healthy Again and working with our farmers to make sure we're getting food to the table. Talk a little bit about what we need to do to make sure farmers are protected.
Well, the first thing we need to do is pass a farm bill, and what the Democrats have demanded is that SNAP, or commonly referred to as food stamps, get over 80% of what we call the farm bill. That's not a square deal for the American farmer. And I would remind you that, if things aren't good in farm country and the American farmer loses the land, someone's not going to be planting that crop next year. So we've had pretty good policy in the U.S. for the last several decades that has led to a low cost of food. Now, that has been disrupted in the last couple of years, and we're all paying 30 to 35 to 50% more at the grocery store right now. But that's because of what they did with, the Inflation Reduction Act and other things. What the American farmer needs, and the American farmer's not asking for a guaranteed profit. What the American farmer needs is a good crop insurance system that allows them to stay in business when they have a bad year. And so right now, because of the cost of diesel, the cost of labor, the cost of fertilizer, the cost of seed, all of those things, the farmer is not getting for his crop what it costs him to grow it. And that's a dangerous place for us as a country. And so what they need is a farm bill that basically would serve as a stop loss, I think is the right way to put it for them, so that when they plant, 1,000 acres at $1,200 an acre, that's $1.2 million in inputs, that if the crop's only going to deliver part of that there is a crop insurance system that they can buy into that would give them a stop loss so that they don't lose the whole $1.2 million. The other thing, and this is what scares me the most, is someone who also sits on the Intel committee. You look at what China has done. China, through ChemChina, the purchase of Syngenta seed, they've been very smart about where they've embedded themselves in the supply chain. Trump realizes this. Trump's the one that will disrupt this. They actually control the technology to grow the food supply for the world now. The Chinese do. That's not a good place for us as the American citizens.
Congressman Austin Scott is our guest on the Morning Xtra, and I want to ask you about this because it takes time to change people's habitual practices. And I think we've seen this over the last 4 years. The push for Republican voters to get out and vote early. I think we're seeing the benefits of talking about this over the last 4 years.
Sure.
How encouraging has that been to see the early vote in the state of Georgia, but not only that, but across the country?
Yeah, so we've got 2.6 million people that have already voted in the state of Georgia so far. Now, let me tell you, this is the last week of early voting. I would encourage you to go out and vote this week, especially if you're going to vote for President Trump. If you're not, it would suit me for you not to vote.
Yeah, stay home. It's fine. Take it easy.
We'll send a car for you, I promise.
Probably hear that. I'll probably hear that one again, won't I?
You may.
But 2.6 million of the 8.2 million registered voters have already gone to vote this year. The highest ballot count we've ever had was right around 5 million. We normally track around 4. I think this year will be a little higher than that. So, but we're still, probably a little better than 50% of the ballots have already been cast this year. But everybody needs to go vote. I mean, if you go back to just 4 years ago, I mean, David Perdue got pushed into a runoff by somewhere around maybe 2,000 votes. And let me tell you how important that 2,000 votes was. That 2,000 votes that pushed David into a runoff. And remember, he had more votes in the November election, and then he did not win in the January election. But that 2,000 votes that pushed David Perdue into a runoff, that gave the Democrats control of the Senate. And what that cost you as an American citizen is $3 trillion.
Goodness.
Because when the Dems had the House, the Senate, and the White House, they spent $3 trillion without a single Republican vote.
Yes, sir.
That's 10% of our national debt. $3 trillion without a single Republican vote. They turn around, they put that money in the agencies without taking it through the appropriations process. That's not the way it's supposed to work in America. And I will tell you, all of the things that they talk about, on the liberal left talks about, and saying, well, Republicans don't respect democracy. When the Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the White House, they did all of those things. They put that money straight into the agencies without going through the appropriations process. They squandered that $3 trillion, and it all happened. It couldn't have happened, I would say this, but for 2,000 votes. That forced David Perdue into a runoff.
Yeah, it's amazing. Quickly before we wrap up here, your election and your campaign against Darius Butler, you have to feel good about the additional attention that Donald Trump is getting in the state of Georgia, because that helps folks down ballot as well. Not that you wouldn't win without him, I'm sure you would, but you have to be appreciative of that, just that extra push.
Let me tell you something. I appreciate the fact that I'm a member of Congress, but I need my country to succeed. I need Donald Trump to be elected president so that we can get this economy growing again. I feel good about my election. Darius ran against me last cycle. We won that one. This cycle you'll have more votes. We'll wake up on Wednesday morning and we'll know who's won. Given the choice between Donald Trump winning and me winning, I'd much prefer that President Trump win. He can do a whole lot more. We have to get control of these agencies. We have to get people at the head of these agencies that actually understand business instead of agendas. And that's a big difference. If you're a mission-oriented individual, that is a big difference over being an agenda-oriented individual. So we're going to put mission-oriented individuals in charge of these agencies, and we're going to make these agencies work for America.
It's amazing. Thank you,
Thank you so much, and good luck in your race, but we agree. And then if Donald Trump wins, Democrats are just going to deny an election anyway.
That's right. Most likely.
They can say that's exactly right. And the Democrats who voted against seating President Trump, nothing was ever said about those guys. Nope. And corporate America never said anything about that. It's just such a double standard. But remember this, Joe Biden's votes on those appropriation measures, the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan, not a single Republican voted for him because he doesn't even talk to us. When Donald Trump was president of the United States, every appropriation vote that was done during COVID, one of the most difficult times for this country, was done in a bipartisan manner. Every single one of them. Donald Trump talks to the Democrats, and that's his job as president of the United States. And so I feel very good about him being the president and where he can take this country. And I appreciate you guys being out there making sure the public knows the truth.
Just trying to tell the truth. That's all we want to do. Thank you, and continued success, Congressman Scott. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Morning Extra, Extra 106.3. Interesting conversation, Los, man. There's so much riding on this election for the country.
There's a lot of optimism, especially for House Republicans, Senate Republicans. The idea of being back in a position where you're not beholden to whatever the crazy leftists decide to do, that you actually have a backstop and that you can actually have an influence in this. It's, again, very encouraging.
I really like Austin Scott. He's done such a great job, especially with agriculture and the Arms Committee. And we need people like him, who's quiet, who gets things done, who votes the correct way, and protects the American people. I'm excited about it.
9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999, covering the entire Southeast, focused on Atlanta, out of Jackson, Georgia. They can take care of whatever you need is roof, siding, windows, doors, gutters, back decks. They can do it all. Southern Exteriors, 8779 Southern, 8779 Southern, southernexteriors.co. It's southernexteriors.co. The effort to fact-check Trump and Joe Rogan, well, it kind of falls flat. But they did it anyway. Talk about it next. And we'll hit the headlines, too. This is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
This election is the biggest of our lifetime. So Extra 106.3 is rolling it out with a huge broadcast for live coverage of the presidential election. Tuesday the 5th, we're live and commercial-free all night long. It starts with the Kimmer Show, followed by a huge live broadcast with the entire Extra staff. And it's not only on the air, but also streaming live on YouTube. Plus, we'll be taking your calls and comments live on the air all night, bringing you the results as they happen and breaking it all down with Neil Bortz, Janelle and Calvin King, Joey Jones, and so many others.
You can trust Extra 106.3 to be the voice you need right now.
The best election night conversation and your calls all night until a winner is declared. All live on the Extra 106.3 app, streaming live on YouTube and over the air on the conservative voice of Atlanta. Extra 106.3 FM.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, biolabs blowing up. Democrats trying to take over the world. These are problems you need to be prepared for. And there's only one place you can truly prepare and make sure that your family's safe. And that's True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. Right now, more than ever, you need to be focusing on what you need. These aren't about doomsday things. These are about things that are happening every single day. We watch it. The water being contaminated. You have to boil your water now, not if you go to True Prep and you have the right water filtration system. They have Georgia Tech engineers owners there, Matt and Joey. They're locally owned and operated. Both of them graduated from Georgia Tech, and they know exactly how to set up your system. In fact, they even hold workshops right there in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. Guys, I'm telling you, you want to keep your family safe. I know you do. I don't have to tell you that, but I do need to tell you, head to True Prep. Please make sure that you're prepared. You never know when you're going to need it. You can't go when it's too late because then everybody else is going. So head now. Start preparing. Start slow, whether it's freeze-dried food, firearms, firearm accessories, the largest selection of AR-15s and ammo. I'm telling you, lowest price around. You're not going to find it any lower than you will at True Prep. Go visit them in Marietta on Cobb Parkway or go visit their site right now. Sign up for some of their workshops at trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Extra 106.3 listeners are falling in love with Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell.
Me and my wife now find our favorite sandwich place. That food over there was great.
Yeah, those rolls are so soft and sweet. I mean, it was just melt in your mouth. It was, and the steak was tender and juicy and flavorful. I can't say enough about it. It was very, very impressive.
It was so good.
Make Nucky's Hoagies in Roswell on Woodstock Road your new favorite spot for lunch or dinner. Nucky'sHoagies.com.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
Hey, are you paying crazy rates for your health insurance? Call Doug Moore at 770-697-0100. Your health insurance cost shouldn't look like a house payment. Are you tired of having things not covered, like doctor visits, labs, etc.? Doug can help, so call him at 770-697-0100. Doug sells all forms of health insurance. His plans have no deductibles, and you don't have to switch doctors. If you're paying too much for health insurance, Doug can help. He has over 20 years experience. You can go to his website and request a quote. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net. That's yourchoicehealthplan.net or call his cell phone at 770-697-0100. Doug can make a plan that you will be able to use. Call 770-697-0100 and he can help. Or go to his website to request a quote, yourchoicehealthplan.net, and contact him. Doug says don't fret. Go to yourchoicehealthplan.net and he can bring rates down. 770-697-0100.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Monday, October 28th. 3 people in Albany were killed and the driver of a car was seriously injured when the vehicle went over a set of railroad tracks at a high speed, became airborne, flipped, and crashed. The driver was found in the driver's seat while 3 passengers were ejected from the car and pronounced dead at the scene. Georgia State Patrol reported that the driver was traveling at 75 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone when officers attempted to pull the car over. Officers also found loaded guns in the vehicle, which may be linked to the Albany State University shooting. Any updates on that case will come from the GBI. President Trump will be in Atlanta today for a rally at McCamish Pavilion on the Georgia Tech campus following an electrifying event last night at New York's Madison Square Garden. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz will also be in Georgia this week with stops in Savannah and Columbus scheduled for Tuesday. The Atlanta Falcons held on late to defeat their division rival, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 31-26. Falcons QB Kirk Cousins threw for 276 yards and 4 touchdowns in the victory. With the win, the Falcons took control of the NFC South and now hold a 5-3 record. With your headlines, Scott Rhino, Extra 106.3.
Tug, Rhino, and Loso on the Morning Extra and Extra 106.3, 9 o'clock hour, brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution in Atlanta. Since 1999, they can fix up what ails your house inside the, not inside at all. What am I saying? Inside, like the siding and roofs, doors, windows, gutters, back decks. They screen them in. They can do it all. Southern Exteriors, 8779 southernexteriors.co.
Our social media maven, Amanda Schwartz, I think she's going to make a mistake here in the office. And I'm trying to talk her out of it, but she seems pretty gung-ho about heating up that piece of fish.
Oh, no.
I know.
Whoa.
And I love
fish.
It looks great.
Bad move.
But she's about to heat that thing up. Bad move. In the back room.
Microwave.
Let me just, for the audience, it ain't the nicest of microwaves.
No, that thing is run down a little bit.
It's going to smell the entire office up.
Rancid.
And she
I'm
and
all
her
for
mom.
it.
And, well, listen, we're not going to be here. Exactly. We'll be gone.
Tug's going to sit around for too long, though.
It's going to be like 11 o'clock, and you're going to, what is that smell?
I'll be here for a while. So.
Yeah. I'll be driving up to the mountains, so I don't care. But
I tried to tell her.
It's just a bad idea. It's a bad precedent. It's like not putting your buggy away at the grocery store.
Well,
I'm a troll. I'm going to go tell her, look, don't let anybody tell you not to eat healthy. We're going to make America healthy again. Go ahead and heat up that fish.
But unless you put the buggy in like a parking spot, normally that's, again, it's an inconvenience.
No, you're an animal.
Fish smell throughout the entire office
also animal-like.
is going to be really tough on a lot of people in this office. Me, I'm like, it's
because
fine.
You're not going to be.
And I don't smell well anyway.
Yeah.
But she was already looking. I looked at it.
Can you smell? Like Carlos can't smell certain
not
things,
very
right?
well. I mean,
can you smell the fish though. I mean, that's pretty pungent.
I can smell, but I can't differentiate.
Yeah.
Like I can tell
What's
you,
the matter?
hey, I just had sinus issues as a kid,
Yeah.
so I can tell you, hey, that's gasoline. Hey, that's fish. Hey, that's weed. All right, but I can't tell you the difference in like, oh, that's apples and orange.
Sure.
Oh,
I just know something's pungent or something's not.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I saw Elon Musk tweet out about the whole not putting your buggy away in your animal-like, and I agree with him on that. And I'm telling you, warming fish up in a microwave in a tight-quartered office is on the same scale. If you ask me, don't do it. There was some folks at my old office that used to do that. And everybody was like...
You said it was Bert.
Well, it was. It was Bert Weiss.
It was Bert Weiss
from the Bert Show.
Yeah.
People would send emails. Bert, are you doing it again?
Guy. I can tell.
And look, me and Bert have a great relationship, but that's what he used to do.
Bert was known for being the guy who would heat up fish?
Every time. Yes.
Hilarious.
Every time.
See, I only do eggs. Heat them up in the microwave?
I don't think, unless it's
horrible.
boiled eggs. Like that. But like just like some scrambled eggs, that's not as bad.
So when I first started working at 680, we had, I worked early mornings and doing the morning show over there, and I had this little contraption that you put 2 eggs in, and it was made of plastic, and then you close it up and throw it in the microwave.
I was going to say,
a little water in it.
Was that an order from like television?
Yeah,
I remember seeing
like
those
that.
ads. Yeah.
And it was amazing because it would make perfectly like just sunny side up eggs.
Because we have one too.
Oh, they're loud. They go pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And they do smell.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Here.
Smell loud.
Oh, they smell so loud. And so everybody would come in like, oh, God, it smells like someone like farted throughout the entire thing. I was like, that was me.
And it did.
It was me and my eggs.
Yeah. But once, man, if you
I don't care.
If you ever mastered that, like that little device thing, they were always
awesome.
really good.
Perfect.
But it takes a little while to master it, for sure.
Yeah, you got to put like 1 to 2 drops of water in perfectly. Yeah. Otherwise, it was weird. But once I got it down, it was perfect. Every morning I was having sunny side out the eggs.
Yes,
throwing some onions in there, just really making it nice and smelly up in the studios.
Well, that's what McDonald's is struggling with, right? They thought it was the beef, and now they've learned that the listeria is coming from onions. From onions.
Yeah, Taylor Farms is one of the big ones. They make, if you go to Costco, in fact, you'll see Taylor Farms, especially in lettuces and some of the nicer salads, the Fresh Express kind of salads that Taylor Farms does. But in the restaurant business, they do a lot of your produce, especially onions, and that's a big thing. So that's why you're going to see a lot of small restaurants not have onions this week or the next week, because that's a huge problem with the E. coli.
It's going to be tough for places like Crystal because, man,
oh my God.
Crystal with the, they have the steamed buns, steamed onions. I ain't eaten Crystal years, but I sure love it.
See, I don't think they use the Taylor Farms.
Different brand.
Yeah, I think they use a different brand because theirs are chopped a lot finer. So you get these big bags already pre-chopped from Taylor Farms. That's why restaurants use them. They're already done. Where I'm like going and getting onions from a farmer's market, slicing them, and then chopping them. That's going to be the difference. But some of them buy them in bags ready to go.
check when you watch anything on social media or on the mainstream media news, check what they say about Donald Trump versus what they say about Kamala Harris. And that's the thing. They're always going to try to fact check Trump, and they do it in real time. You saw David Muir do it. Trump even referenced it a few times. But that's the thing. They will not quit. They're going to continue this all the way through the finish line in 8 days at the election. But, Rhino, they're going to continue it afterwards because they are going to be so livid when he wins that this is going to be a huge, huge thing.
Yeah, this is a huge, huge deal, I think, with Joe Rogan, which is why CNN, MSNBC, and all of them are trying to pretend to fact check. Now, let me explain what their fact checks are. Their fact checks are, yeah, this is true, but he said it mean. That's right. Basically what it is. Or, yeah, this is true, but he said it was 3 days, and it was really 2 days later and it wasn't Chinese bombers, not all of them. Only 8 of them were. The rest were military planes that were going to attack. So, yeah, he's a liar.
Huge difference.
But you know what you won't see, and it goes to, again, they didn't fact check the truth about yesterday. No, it's all about his Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden. It's not, wow, look at all the Jewish flags that were hanging up. Look at all the diversity in this. Look at all this. This idiot said something wrong, a comedian, the joke fell flat. But you know what? We also saw in a rally where George Lopez said things about Mexicans being thieves, but nobody ever complains about that during the rally. See, they're going to play this game, and they're going to continue to do it, Los.
So getting back to Rogan and the whole fact check. So one of the things that was interesting about it was they brought up David Muir during the debate, bringing up the fact that they were only fact checking Donald Trump and never fact checking Kamala Harris. And as he brought up, hey, when she said we didn't have any troops in war zones and then had the video of troops in war zones going,
all 40,000
what the hell are you talking about?
Where am I then?
That never came up with CNN.
No, of course.
That was and there was a handful of matters where Joe Rogan would bring up, clarify what you're saying from this perspective. But the fact that the one fact check that happened during the course of that interview was based on something that had occurred, and Kamala Harris was never touched on it because, according to what some of the people had pointed out, she was not supposed to be fact-checked in order to take that debate. That was part of the agreement to take the debate.
We would only fact-check his side. Yeah, we learned about that afterwards. But then, on top of that, though, the David Muir thing come up, especially about FBI data and crime data, when they were talking about...
That was another thing, too, yeah.
Which they were talking about Muir saying, well, Mr. President...
crime is down.
Crime is down. We've got, and then the next week, the FBI crime data is released, and it's up by 45% or some crazy number like that, which is not surprising to any of us that live in the real world. But when you live behind a gate like David Muir, you probably don't know, and you buy your own BS.
Well, we're at a point now where fact-checking is strictly a part of the propaganda media, the Democrat media, that is just there to attack their adversaries. That's it. The idea that you're going to get fair fact-checking, that doesn't really exist. That really went away when it first came out in the early 2000s that we're going to have PolitiFact and we'll fact-check information for the voters out there.
Which is a leftist outlet specifically.
Yeah. That completely went out the window. It was always in order to go after your adversaries. It was never to make voters more informed.
Yeah, look, this is what they fact-checked. Harris's border roll. Trump repeated this claim that she's in charge of the border. Her own president and herself said she was in charge of the border. These are their fact checks. Oh, migrants and murderers. Well, the reality is that the migrants have been murdering people for more than just 3 years. It's been 10 years. That's your fact check.
Makes it better.
Yes, these are their fact checks. These are the games that they're trying to play. They don't actually expect anybody to read through the fact checks of their side because this is made for the extremists over on the left to just go, he was fact checked 32 times. He made 32 lies. Tell me the lies. They don't even know them.
They actually went after him for talking about windmills being problematic for whales at sea. He's a liar. Then 24 hours later, okay, we got a problem with the windmills at sea. They're actually a problem with the sea life, especially the whales.
And we've been talking about that for how long? I mean, goodness gracious, we've been talking about this for years.
When Rhino calls them air blenders because of what they do to any of the wildlife in the area, notably the birds, And yet they never bring that up.
Out in New Mexico, it's bats. They're actually, it's killing
killing bats, eagles, everything.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Here's another fun fact check. Jimmy Carter, who said mail-in ballots are a really big problem because it can really cause problems throughout elections. That's something that he said. They said, well, that's not true what he said. Trump said that it was no mail-in ballots. That's not what he said. This is such a ridiculous way to fact check someone.
Finally, a Democrat tells it like it is. Finally. And we'll end the show on that. Next on the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3.
In 2 weeks, there is even the slightest of chances that this country could elect Kamala Harris to be president of the United States.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
I've got good news if you have a family in mind that could use a new roof, and one that, they're just struggling in this terrible economy, the one that, for that matter, most Americans are struggling with. So the folks at Southern Exteriors have something truly special, this Home for the Holidays roof giveaway. Until November 30th, you can nominate a deserving family in need of a roof, brand new roof, just in time for the holidays. So many families, like I said, facing these hardships, the economy that is really difficult, and they have troubles with the roof that is over their family's head headed into the holidays. They're committed to making a difference at Southern Exteriors. It's more than a roof. It's a peace of mind. It's a place where you make those cherished memories. Come together and make a difference. If you know a deserving family in need of a new roof, nominate them today by visiting southernexteriors.co. The website again, southernexteriors.co. Southern Exteriors, where home means more.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
You may know that ATL Turf Co. has become a leader in artificial grass design and installation services, but you may not know that ATL Turf Co. is a large artificial grass distributor. We only sell U.S.-made premium name brand turf at factory direct pricing below wholesale. And now we're open to the public with large inventories of lawn and landscape, putting green, athletic, and pet turf on sale. Plus, all remnants are on sale for only $1 per square foot, direct from Dalton to our warehouse in Kennesaw. Visit atlturfco.com to learn more. atlturfco.com.
When it comes to protecting your assets and ensuring peace of mind, trust the expertise of Nelson Elder Care Law. Our Absolute Protection Trust is designed to provide unparalleled asset protection. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com to discover how our specialized services can safeguard your family's future and assets, offering you the assurance you deserve. NelsonElderCareLaw.com.
Looking for bold discussions on vital issues? Tune in to The Janelle King Show every Saturday at 3 p.m. with an encore episode every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on Xtra 106.3, where we dive into kitchen table topics that are essential for a strong republic. Don't miss an episode, but if you do, it's all good because we have new podcasts that drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out on these thought-provoking conversations.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
The Morning Extra from 6 to 10. Glenn Beck until noon. Clay and Buck from noon to 3. And The Kimmer Show on your ride home from 3 to 6. Plus Jesse Kelly from 6 to 9. And Jimmy Vela from 9 to midnight. The voices you need all day with a conservative voice of Atlanta. Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Sometimes truth comes out at unusual times and from unusual people. And lately it's been happening a lot on the Bill Maher Show.
Let me be very clear about this. The reason why the other side has a problem is because they're gay. No, I'm not saying they're homosexual. I'm saying they're gay. So the problem is that they're not having any fun when you have Kill Tony, who is, Tony Hinchcliffe, who gets up on stage and makes jokes at everybody's expense. And then you have the left immediately attack. Hey, Puerto Ricans, aren't you upset? It's because they're gay. Yeah. All right? So I want you to take a listen to Van Jones, who maybe is the only person on CNN right now on that side who totally gets it. Again, I'm calling you gay because it's fun for me. All right?
And I know you'll be all up in arms.
And you're going to be upset. They're like, that guy on that conservative show keeps calling us gay. It's because you're gay. Not saying you're homosexual. You're gay. Here is what Van Jones has to say about this.
When you have somebody who is a world-famous superstar, who's a billionaire, et cetera, and they do something you don't expect, it's brilliant media. And I think we got to acknowledge that this guy is beating the pants off of us with these so-called publicity stunts. It gets into everybody's feeds, and people who are not looking at politics will look at that. I think we just have to have more fun ourselves. We were having a great time during the Democratic convention. If we have more fun, if the Democratic Party is a party of fun, people will join it. We should be doing crazy stuff too.
It's like, don't immediately just go to, I hate him for that.
Yeah.
Which is but everybody I know here in Hollywood does that. And it's like, you're first of all, you look weak. You look weak. You look like you're so easily got.
Yes.
You look like you overreact to anything.
And you do.
Which is why I call them gay. Again,
knowing
it's not saying they're homosexual. I'm just saying this because I know that it's going to upset all of them. I am the one having a great time right now.
This is fun because you could take New York, NY, AG, Letitia James. If you spell it backwards, it's gayin. By the way. But here's her. I mean, this is how she overreacted. This is where they're going. This is all they're going to do for the next 2 days, and then it's going to die off. Don't you dare come to New York and insult our Puerto Rican family. Puerto Rico is one of the most beautiful places in the world. We don't tolerate this vile and racist behavior. This is what they're going to do. Because a comedian, not Donald Trump didn't say a thing, right?
Right.
This is a comedian who does roasts, who is goofy, who attacks everyone, and now they're going to lose their mind over
I think if you don't understand what Kill Tony's act is, when they do that,
and I didn't, to be honest with you, in the beginning, I had to go look it up and figure it out.
At the mothership, it is you put your name in, you get up on stage, and it's your turn to then try and make these people laugh. And they're roasting you the entire time while you're doing it. That is the entire Kill Tony act. And so when he gets up on stage and takes shots at a bunch of different entities, that is because that is the act. If you didn't get it,
sorry.
Might be because
you're not dialed in, you're not paying attention, you have no sense of humor.
Or, why are you gay?
Yeah, why are you gay? No, but a lot of this got brought up in the Rogan podcast, too. And we talked about it a little bit earlier in the fact that Trump said, I'm not sure why I always get the media attention I do. And Rogan goes, oh, I know. You say some wild ass.
Yes.
And he does. But it is all part, just like you're laying out, it is all to get people so riled up that gets them off their game.
It's the fun. And that is what Van Jones, and again, how did I start this segment? By pointing out something that people would normally go, oh my God, you're not allowed to say that.
You can't say that.
It's because Van Jones is pointing out our side's the one that's having all the fun, and they're not having any fun. The problem
with the Joy
fun,
campaign's not having fun.
There's too many rules that they have on what you can say, what you can do, how you say it, when do you say it, what you can say depending on who you are. There are so many rules. There's so many gotchas on their side, where our side just goes, are you a good person? All right, cool. Say what you want.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough for me.
And on the left, the lines, with all those rules, the lines are blurry as to who can say it, who can't say it, when they can say it, and when it's appropriate or inappropriate. Yeah. And there's no rule book. It is when we want to get you, we're going to use that.
If Mother Teresa was brought back tomorrow, and she made a criticism of somebody outside her community, they'd call her racist.
Yeah.
All right, because them's the rules, only within their community. They have so many rules and so many lines that they can't possibly have fun.
No, but that's the problem. They can't have fun because they're too busy trying to figure out how they're being trolled by Donald Trump and everybody else. Joe Rogan is going to continue down trolling you. Elon Musk is now trolling you, and you can't handle it because you're too busy trying to make up all this. It's fun to watch. They're going to implode, and you know what? I don't like the whole. I don't like the whole thing. I don't like the whole name calling and all of that stuff. I find it funny. I do laugh, but I understand. I don't like it as a campaign strategy. But
that's why they dialed so far back on it.
But now I love it because, like Carlos is pointing out, it is fun to watch them implode.
Comedy is comedy. It's an art form. It's an act. I'm going to put this out in front of you, and it doesn't mean that this is exactly who I am. I'm just doing this comedy for the sake of comedy.
Recognize what it is.
Right, and oftentimes...
Much like Van Jones.
What did I start the show with joking around when I was like, hey, Tug, call me gay?
And you're gay.
And I went, you're right. I was like, yes, in this scenario,
why are you gay?
Exactly.
Why are you gay?
Right.
Why are you gay?
There are so many things that I will sit back and go, yep, guilty as charged. That's totally me right there.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be upset about, oh, my God, I can't believe you used that language against me. I can't believe you decided to put me there. This is why, as Van Jones points it out, they're not the party of fun anymore, people. They haven't been the party of fun for a long time because of all their rules. We're the party of fun.
Oh, no, I expect Tim Walz to just have a ball today in his 2 rallies with his 100 people that are going to show up in Georgia. Like, I expect him to be like, hey, guys, let's just have fun. Let's make jokes and No, this is a party that has no joy. The only reason they said they had to have strength through joy, number one, it's a Nazi socialist idea, so of course they're going to push that, but also because they have to fake joy. There's no real joy in this party.
How about the people that have decided not to endorse Kamala Harris? Because I think that's an interesting story that's probably not getting enough attention. The fact that the L.A. Times, that's where she's from.
L.A. Times won't do it.
The
Washington Post decided, right. and they had an uproar over that.
Yeah,
how they won't do it.
Reporters quitting.
Yep.
And then the newspaper, and the name escapes me, in Minneapolis, where Walz is from. He's obviously the governor. They're saying also we're not going to endorse, and they're not endorsing Trump. They're just endorsing anybody. But what a slap in the face to someone like Kamala Harris when every other Democrat always gets it. So it almost amplifies the message when she don't.
No one wants to be on board with a loser. That's what happens, especially when you are now talking about an industry. You know, the newspaper industry is basically set up to cater to just their audience, and that's it. It's not like you have, when I get up on Sunday mornings, you remember back in the day, you'd get up on a Sunday morning and every house on the street had the Sunday newspaper thrown out in front.
Yep.
You know why my house is the only one there? Because my father-in-law pays for Braves coverage, so I get the Sunday newspaper while he gets Braves coverage. And you know what I do?
Form.
I put it right in the recycling bin.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of what it is. So, yeah, you're not in the business anymore of going, well, let me side with the loser because I see where things are going.
Right. And how about I just don't? And it's been, I don't know, it's been kind of telling and funny on social media to see the reaction of it. Like I said, when editors are quitting the Washington Post because Bezos has apparently said, and I've not seen this anywhere, and y'all can tell me if you've seen it, Bezos said he thinks the Washington Post should be more neutral in their coverage. I don't know that they ever will, and they haven't been since the 60s, but he supposedly has said that. I would find that very fascinating if that's the case.
The temperature of the water is changing. Because when he bought the Washington Post, it was not to be some arbiter of what the political temperature was going to be.
Pandering to the people that bought it.
He was like, hey, I'm pretty leftist.
Here's what you are.
Here, I'm going to buy this, and let's be all leftist together.
Yeah.
Now it's turned into, ain't a lot of money in leftism right now.
That's right.
It's not really working.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's really said it. Like I said, I've not seen that confirmed. I've just heard that is the case.
And to go along and to kind of put a bow on this, whatever they call you over the next 8 days, just wear it.
Wear it with a smile.
Yeah. Yes. You Nazis.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey.
That's right.
Yes, I'm part of the brown shirt. So whatever. It's like, wear it. Wear all of it. They call you all the names. Have fun with it. Enjoy it. The only reason they're doing it is because they're upset. And whenever you happen to point out this sort of stuff to them, as far as whatever you want to call them, just know it is completely ruining their day. For you, you should be giggling over it.
I'm going to my full German name today, so everybody, if you see me, just call me Reinhold.
Okay.
All right? Full Nazi all day today.
All right, good enough. So we got 11 days. Make sure you get out and vote. I'm going to do that today, just like everybody else on the show has already gotten it done. So you don't need to wait, just like we heard from Austin Scott and then John King, too. Everybody was making sure that you to remind you to get out and vote. My family's all done it. My son even did it absentee from over in Charleston, so he's ahead of the game as well. I was very proud of him once I figured that part out. But anyway, that'll do it for us. For Rhino, Los, Board Up, Captain Go, Virgin River. My name is Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear?
So long, gay boys!
Hey, it's Flounder, and The Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
You don't accidentally misplace money for Ukraine. You don't accidentally